things to go through tonight. It was a big day for me today, and I think for most of us who went to the rallies everywhere. So
literally just walked into the shed after being at Melbourne all day. Oh,
big day, big day.
What a day.
Oh, mate, yeah. Gee, you're a tall fella, mate. I felt tiny next to you, Ryan.
We get that all the time.
I can imagine. John, 5 foot. I say 5 foot.
You'd make Posey look small.
yeah. Well, Graham knows now, but I'm 6'8".
Wow, that's tall. That's tall.
I'm throwing a pair of boots, so probably tipping over 6'9" today. So
easy to find in
the
crowd.
Nice.
That's it, mate. That's exactly right.
So we've got Peter here today, Peter Jake, or someone, Port Macquarie, and we had a rally there. It was huge, just for a little town. Probably about nearly, I think, 1,000 people in the rain. So Peter got up.
Brilliant.
He's a pastor and did an amazing speech. So it's on my page. You should go and have a listen. So welcome, Peter.
Welcome, Peter, and thanks for joining us, mate. Good to have you in. Do you want to do the housekeeping, Penny? We'll get started in a minute.
And we're just going to put everyone on mute as we come in, just so the background noise doesn't sort of take over. So if you can just do that now if you're off mute. And then Graham's going to go through, what the QMS is to new people, so they actually get the idea of that. And if you'd like to have a question, just raise your hand. You go to reactions. There's a little hand you can put up there, and we tend to do that at the end. And Graham will introduce, welcome in speakers as we go, because he's invited some people tonight from today, I'm sure. The ambience was amazing today, so hopefully we'll get a lot of people. And I'm feeling really excited. So yeah, looking forward to it. So that's the housekeeping for tonight. Yeah, you know the rules, guys. You know how it works. Yeah. I've got my cat meowing in the back. Sorry, excuse that.
Okay, thanks, Penny. I was just trying to call a couple of people off while I was on mute then, just to sort of now Ed's actually just given his apologies. He won't be in tonight. Bit of family time at the end of the night. I'll just come on screen. Hi, guys. All right, so now Alison's put a message up in the chat there. So basically, I think, Alison, do you want to come in and unmute for a second, please?
Sure.
Thank you. Would you like to do the acknowledgement, please, so that we get it right?
There is no right or wrong, Graham. It's just simply saying that we're to acknowledge all the lands that we're on. There's a number of people, I've already heard Port Macquarie, which is different mobs, all over Australia, that we're on many countries, and we need to decolonize ourselves that it's one country. There's lots of countries that we're sitting on, and just to really acknowledge the elders, past, present, and emerging, and to acknowledge the wisdom that they've got. They've survived this for 230 years. And now all of us in Australia are under this, and the globe. So I just wanted to really pay my respects. And I've got mixed heritage myself. So I just wanted to actually acknowledge that I feel like I'm sitting in both camps every time I come into a meeting. So I can hear it, but I can also hear the other side as well. And that's the bridge building that we need to be making between our original people, who are actually holding a lot of the answers. And it's not a competition anymore. It's not actually about Black Lives Matter. It's actually about, we need every voice at this table to change the system that's taken over the world. So
Absolutely.
I really believe in what Graham's doing, and all of you that have come on, as far as this first step. Like, it's really about moving away from that two-part system into something that's actually really embracing all of us. So I'm still getting my head around it fully, but I'm also wanting to acknowledge that if we start with that foundation of what countries we're on, that's where the strength is going to come for all of us.
Without correct jurisdiction, we have nothing. And without the tribal people, we have nothing. We protect them or we die, and they endorse what we're doing, or we can't proceed. That's pretty much where we stand at the moment. Yep. So we need them as much as they need us, and we need to work together. And there is no us and them. There is just one nation proceeding forward together under, or one continent proceeding forward under a new international construct, which I'm now going to ask Dylan to pop off mute. You there, mate? You able to come in, Dylan? I'll ask him to unmute. He might have stepped away for a second, but in a second, what I'll do is I'll get Dylan to come in. I would like Dylan to explain his international law construct. People's Treaty is us coming right way to the Indigenous nations and us creating a treaty with them in order to, sorry, I just had a missed call, in order to do this correctly and become sovereign as part of their tribes. So we will actually all become tribal people in a way, parts of tribes. And by doing that, we step out of the current system into the new construct, which we can manage with the QMS. So the QMS has its part to play, People's Treaty has its part to play, and Dylan's international law construct and the Bora courts have their part to play. And honestly, all the other ways that we're seeing out there, the Constitution, everything is wrong, right? They're our path to destruction. Everything is a psyop. We have one way forward that's the right way, and that is the correct way with the voice and will of the people. And that's what we're doing here. And this is not ego speaking. This is the truth as I believe Dylan and I see it. So thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. We appreciate the support. I think Did just sort of stepped away for a minute, so hopefully he'll be back in a minute. Once Didge comes in, I will ask him to explain his constructs. And I mean, jump online, have a look at People's Treaty. There's a PDF there that you can watch. Sorry, not a PDF, it's a PowerPoint presentation that you can watch, which will explain what People's Treaty is all about. It's us as white fella making treaty with black fella to have the right to be here and be part of this discussion. So in the right way, because even though we're born here, we can't claim sovereignty unless that sovereignty is granted to us. So, all right, Penny, do you want to do a quick statement on what the QMS is from your perspective, and just sort of explain some of it? I've got someone that's trying to ring me, so I'm just going to jump off for a second and take that because it could be important. It looks like it is because they keep trying. And I'll be right back with you guys in a minute. And if Dylan comes back in, if you could get him to explain what he's doing, please, just so he's got a bit of, yeah.
Maybe Madhu can also step in and give his version too.
That'd be good
we
too.
all have different ideas of it and different ways to explain. And that's the best way that people can understand. So today at the rally, I stood up and explained what it was very briefly. But more so about, I actually tried to do a live vote on the referendum that we've set in the Democracy app. So it looks like a lot of people can't quite get there. So I would like feedback on that. Like, what is there a problem with it? Also, so for me, this is how I explain it to most people. Do we have a voice right now? We do not have a voice. Do we trust the government? No, we don't trust the government. I think 95% would say that, right? So I would explain the QMS as an alternative to the Westminster system, because no one is really happy with the Westminster system. And, you know, if we're going to get back to normal, which we're never going to get back to normal, who wants to go back to normal? And we're going to have to use the old system still, and we're going to be stuck in this situation again and again and again. So we need a new system because this system is broken. This is the new system. It works in like an algorithm. The people get to put the policies forward, the ideas forward, then the people get to vote on those ideas. It would work on an algorithm system where the most popular favorite idea will get to the top. Then we get to vote on those ideas together. We're using a group of experts also to just put that together a better way, but that policy would sit as it was, how it's voted on. We've also got the voting application for actual voting, which is blockchain system, which can't be corrupted. It's transparent. It's for the people, by the people. And I mean, wow, isn't this what we need? You know, this is what we need. Nothing is transparent right now. We don't have a voice. This is perfect for First Nations to come in, and we can all, you know, be together, work together, have the same respect for each other, have the same respect for each other's ideas, not be governed, but have a self-governance. So, you know, for me, it's brilliant. It's a brilliant idea, and it goes further than that. But to me, that's how I explain it the easiest way possible to understand. But Madhu, how would you explain it? Is he still here? Yes.
Hang on.
Madhu.
Yes, I'm here. Fine. It's kind of good to keep everything in the right perspective. And I'd like to just take a step back out of, and I'd love to let Dylan just speak for himself on People's Treaty, because he's the guy that speaks about it best and most. Graham, myself and Dylan are all very well versed in each other's things. I'd like to just give a moment's introduction to the sovereignty principle, which is the new way, old way together, as Aunt Nellie gave to me, saying this is what it is. And I told her sovereignty, and all of the elders that I've talked to about it go, yeah, that's the way. And it's really simple, because all of the technicalities of our distance opinions, the blockchain, the block, and our chains to the block, and the crypto dead world, they're very vulnerable to the attacks from those who own the systems, primarily Israel and Russia and China and Tehran and the deep state. So whilst we've seen that the Commonwealth has been admittedly in the last process through the US elections, the Commonwealth has regularly been targeted by Dominion and Smartmatic software operating systems, getting whatever results they want, regardless of whether we use paper on a ballot, or do it donkey, or don't show up, or find if we don't, or whatever this situation is. The outcome is manipulated. So to avoid that outcome happening in our futures, sovereignty is about in the real. As much as People's Treaty is about two realms coming to meet and coming to greet and coming to see one another, the Commonwealth realm itself is a fraudulent extension. So everything we know winds back 232 years or so. To give impetus to the notion that, well, I've certainly studied the Constitution, I've certainly studied all these different things, the Westminster system, and let me reiterate the words, not my own, but Dave Cole's. What we have in Australia is actually a really good structure of government, and we're not looking to trash that in order to get about and govern. That's not what we're interested in. I mean, we can see the Solomon Islands going that way in order to trash their government. And that actually is part of the New World Order plan too, right? We know this. We can't be belligerent in this state, because we're under, we can be treasonous to an unlawful occupier, belligerent occupier, especially if we have protection from the actual sovereigns. Now we see the peculiar point in time where we're at right now. Most of the people in the world think that the tribal people are Aboriginal. Most of the people in Australia think that the tribal people are Aboriginal. Most of the Aboriginal people think they're Aboriginal. And only a few people who are tribal people, who are identified with their law and culture and practices, and each other who stand that way, are really active at this point in time. It's that 20 thinking, 40 flexible, 30% non-thinking kind of big equation stuff that they've already worked out for us. So it's critical that the thinking 30%, such as we might call ourselves at this moment, who, you know, it's a rare company these days and we kind of know it when we see it, that we're influencing that 40% from the right way. And these kinds of meetings, these kinds of discussions, which sort of hammer out those things, is really important. So just quickly before I pass the ball or baton or stick on to Dylan for a bit of a rave about it on People's Treaty, sovereignty is about personal authentication, mutual assurance being established, who you are. Because right now, digital identity theft is about to happen on a massive scale, including your mind, including your very body. Right? So if we don't have an authentication method to say this person's real and held and known and they're in honor, we're actually not putting ourselves in any better position. Why do the tribal people like what I say to them about it? And they go, that's the way. Just instantly. The elders, by the way, literally all the elders I've spoken to and done this in the ground with them, they're like, yep, that's it. That's the way. Within a couple of minutes, they got it. They got the whole structure because they can see it. And that's the problem with having vision at times, is that it takes circumstances for that vision to become necessary. And now is the time where this particular conversation around sovereign tree, new way, old way together, meaning old ways, you show up in person, new ways, we do our digital things, but the two of them have got to be proper. If it's not proper, it means it's not recognized, it's not appropriate, it's not right for the time, place, and circumstances. So the tribal people that hear that call, that are putting out, who are fully active in that top 30%, who are in the dreaming and in the world and everything else, are saying new way, old way together. There's no other way, because the tribal people aren't looking to trash us. They may well have, 20 years ago in frustration. They want us to come into their realm. They want to bring us in, keep everything we've got. So the idea of the Constitution as a fraudulent imposition that it has been, their concession in this new way, old way together is to say continuity of governance means those who are holding power currently in whatever structure get to maintain the structure. But as we upgrade with sovereignty, we bind everyone who comes into standing, whether they're an elector or the elected, whether they're a juror or a judge, or whether they're executive or administrator in service to the council or the nation, they have standing, which is held, known, and seen. And by held, it means you've got 4 pillars, one in the north, one in the east, one in the south, one in the west. And each one of those people stand with you and for you. They intercede from the outside because you're making a declaration with each of those directions of your stand, how personal, hyper-personal, who you really are in the world and what you really stand for. And someone else stands perfectly with you, solid, mutual assurance. As you do for them, they do for you. And you've made, say, 2 paragraphs of statement for that stand, and that person has put their thumbprint and their autograph on that. And that's with you forming your claim of right with those first 4 who are the most important, who stand with you and for you. Then you add 20 more and you've got your society and a trust. And it's a public-private trust, which allows you to function in the private when you're not in service and allows you to function in the public when you're in service. And a claim of harm binds you to the tribal ways by natural law. Claim of harmlessness. Right? So a claim of harmlessness can be met with a claim of harm if it's rightful. If it's not rightful, then it's a harmful claim. So all this is folding back on one another. And like I said to Dylan and certainly said to Graham, if I'm being asked a question, I reserve the right not to answer that question and to give my feedback on why I don't want to answer that question. And there might be very good reasons for that. So in sovereignty, the proposal is you get to answer every question of the day, yes, no, or dissent. And if the questions keep coming from someone in high standing, which is 3 levels of honour upgraded by those in your own society, not by your own actions or request or funding, your standing goes from 25 to 760 to 12,600 in high standing. And so these powers are attracted to you naturally because of that level of honour. Now, this is the full upgrade on what we need to do and how we need to do it. This is our own independent, conscious effort. And so first up will be exemplars, those who are actually consciously able to.
Sorry, mate. Thanks, brother.
Okay.
And yeah, sorry, we got a few people to get through. I've got Madonna in here as well, and I'd like her to get a chance to have a chat as well, and she can't stay for too long. But I did want to get Dylan to explain his international law construct and People's Treaty while we've got people here now to show the basis for which we wish to sit the QMS on. So what we might do, we might get you to talk a little bit later more on sovereignty, if that's okay, mate. But I just want to get Dylan in now so I can get Madonna in as well and get her to say her piece too. She and I've been talking a lot lately, and she actually helped me with being able to get up today in front of those. Well, we had a huge crowd there today. I think that was the biggest rally Australia's ever seen. So she's been coaching me, and I really appreciate the work that she's done with me, and you know, the help she's given me with what I'm trying to present when I have to get up in front of a crowd. So it's been a really daunting thing for me, even just to do these Zoom meetings. To get up in front of people in crowds has been a really big thing. So did you want to unmute and come in, mate? And we'll get a rundown on the international law construct. You there, brother? Did he?
Yeah, mate. There you
Yeah,
go. Can you hear me all right? Can you hear me all right there, guys? Anyway, tell me if you can't hear me, somebody. But,
Yeah, we can hear you really well.
All right, wonderful.
Yeah,
Thanks
can
for
hear you,
having me
mate.
in. Thanks for having me in. Thanks to everybody today. Great energy in Victoria. It was wonderful to see all that. And it's really absolutely magic to see Zelenak up on stage, just delivering the most beautiful, heartfelt speeches, inviting all the non-original people into the conversation about sovereignty. It's such an important thing for our continent to confront as we move forward, the foundation of everything we choose to do based on the sovereignty of these original nations. They've maintained that through 233 years of belligerent occupation and genocide. And as a result, we are here today capable of having a conversation about unity that could produce an outcome that formerly has never existed. So we're creating it in the process of what we're doing now by having these discussions, by introducing new ideas, by letting everybody have their 2 cents worth in this yarn. Now, I really like this sovereignty concept that Madhu puts forward. It's you know, a system based on honor and integrity, and those who can live in that standing will benefit from living in that standing as community members and leaders, etc. So I think it's very relevant as we move forward to have ideas like that in the forefront of how we think, especially considering, you know, living by that standard among one another is you know, upholding the rights of others and you know, ensuring the rights of ourselves, but in the same process. So a quick intro to People's Treaty. What People's Treaty is a place for non-original people to come along and share their will. We collect orders, which we want to use to annex this current system as it stands. So along with what Madhu said there about continuation of governance, similar sort of the concept by putting a rope around the system and having it follow the directions of the people in honour of the truth of the original nations and their right to be sovereign governments and law bodies on each original nation as it stands. And we can work together as an international body, as the continent, and create solutions wherever they need to be created. So yeah, the People's Treaty is offering a chance for everybody to come into standing in this conversation and make a declaration to say that they'll be party to this change in introducing their orders as their will and their wishes for it to be heard and used to help secure this continent and create that way forward, united and lawfully with the jurisdiction of the original nations, determining the final directions, and we will be honouring and respecting that properly in doing this way, that we are actually earning the trust necessary to be granted those rights to sovereignty that we all should obviously have. We all feel a connection to this country, this land, no matter where we stand on it, and we love the lifestyle that delivers us freedoms and liberties. And we've always been fooled into believing that's what we had. And now it's time for us to get real about making sure we do have something like that. So People's Treaty has been working with original mobs, very tribal people, very sovereign in their endeavours to formulate ways for the rest of us to involve ourselves in supporting these nations in making their self-determining stands and unifying, so we can, you know, all work together as producing an outcome. So one of those outcomes is the International Land Law Boer Accord, which has just had its, well, I've just finished drafting. I did 3 drafts to finally come up with one. And I'm happy to share a draft that's of a protocol and procedure for running an international court of law. It will be founded on a declaration of an International Declaration of Human Rights, an International Declaration of Environmental Protection Protocol, and the core principle of self-determination, protecting all the nations, the people, and the land in its process. So that body of law will be very simple and be capable of finding accountability for the ongoing genocide, which is something no law on earth can currently do, because currently every law on earth is complicit in that ongoing genocide and therefore can't run those cases, or would have to find itself complicit. So that lack of integrity in what currently exists in the law globally is what we seek to change by implementing law that has integrity through its very foundations and the agreements that start the process. Those people who are involved in it need to be of high standing, and they need to be recognised as such, and that somewhere something like sovereignty can be introduced and help ensure that the integrity in what we choose to do remains. So we're all accountable to our own actions and our own deeds. And this International Land Law Border Court will be the jurisdiction of international law on this continent, and capable of going global and offering the same opportunity to nations around the world. Because as we would be free from all contract, with a fresh, clean slate, we can start the process of international contracting to form alliances that provide peace and security globally, and remove the New World Order agenda and the threat of their corporate contracts as they stand. Now, the reason we can do all this securely is because the current protocols of international law define that self-determination of nations is a core principle in all international dealings as it stands. And every contract in the New World Order agenda is formed within the national sovereignty of each nation individually within their law constructs. So the very foundational, fundamental concept of national sovereignty is protecting every nation on the planet as it stands today. And we on this continent have 369 nations that we can respect and acknowledge in such a way as to form our own international body, in keeping with that very same protocol, but not underneath that current international jurisdiction, because we'll be self-determining away from it. And so we're in a very unique position, and blessed to have such amazing original elders and groups of original people and lawmen and lawwomen working together to formulate action and plans and solutions against the system. For instance, today they served up this gunner in the territory and the Supreme Court accepted their notice and officially stamped it, and we'll see what comes of that. I don't entirely think the Supreme Court will find itself accountable for anything. So introducing Michael Gunner on the charges that he's on might succeed. I'm not sure. I couldn't tell you, but I wouldn't suspect that they will be in a hurry to find him accountable using the system. But we'll see how that comes to be. But there's other things happening that are making sure this conversation about national sovereignty is relevant in the freedom movement, and soon will be relevant in the mainstream, as they won't be able to avoid this. So what they're trying to claim today as an anti-vax rally will very soon be a rally in favour of national sovereignty. And when that position happens within the freedom movement, that there's no longer anything relative to COVID, it's relative to the future and liberty of this continent and the future of humanity as a result. So we encourage everybody to support any idea that can honour that and respect that, such as QMS with their concept to bring in the quantum managed government systems. Graham and I talk quite a bit, and the understanding is there that the 369 nations need to be able to individually adapt that concept and program for each individual nation, so it's relevant to their own circumstances. Some nations might not need something as in-depth as a quantum management system. Other nations might do really well by having something as in-depth as a quantum management system. But it's all relevant to each nation and how they foresee that. So we're all uniting at the moment, which is what's going on. And those of you who've been wondering where I've been for the last few weeks, and my internet just stopped letting me on for some reason. We've had technicians in and everything. They've told us nothing's wrong, but for some reason wasn't able to use the internet for a week and a half. So that was a bit of a pain in the butt, but I got to get some work done in the background and got that protocol finished and ready to be distributed among the nations. So we hope to be talking about the foundations of that court very soon, and finding a way to global accountability for genocide and complicity in genocide, and open the door to having all the criminality we see before us. So we're all convinced the Commonwealth is real, and there's a lot of treason against that Commonwealth. So that's evidence of criminal gains for their complicity in genocide. And that's how we'll be using that evidence to help the public absorb all this information and be able to comprehend why we are going about creating accountability in this direction. And we will be making big moves in big international ways that will speak very loudly, very clearly to the world. And we should be offered the proper protections through the protocols of international alignments and alliances and military rules of engagement and codes of conduct. And everything is in our favour if we support these original nations and their self-determining rights as nations, and that's all of them. That's OSTF, as well as the Northern Alliance, as well as the Circle of Elders, as well as Mirrabooka Sovereign Union, as well as the original national sovereign governments that are individually popping up on their own. So we have to support them all and their right to choose individually as nations. And that's something that People's Treaty does. We honour it all from that point of view. And it's a promise in your heart to be a part of these changes into the future. So I think that's a pretty good rundown. I'll zip it there and let somebody else have a yarn, eh?
Cheers, brother. Hey, that was great. Thank you. Really appreciate it. I love the way you put it forward because you make it really simple. And look, these are complex constructs. That's where I'm having trouble selling everything myself. We're trying to bring forth something that a lot of people are struggling with. Madonna, would you like to unmute if that's cool and come in and introduce yourself and talk a little bit about what we've been talking about and what you've seen around there? And I'll get to you in a minute, Madhu. Sorry, mate.
Sure. Hi, everyone. How you going? My name's Madonna. I know a few of the people in here, actually. Good to see you, Graham. So I'll just start with this, first of all. What people are talking about in here are really high-level constructs, actually. And I think for me, you know, my place in all of this, if anyone's ever, you know, heard me speak or maybe viewed my lives or whatever, where I come from in this is taking, you know, kind of concepts and I guess talking about them in a way that people can understand them in an easier way. Because what happens is, and this is what I was talking to Graham about when he wanted to speak about the QMS system, and he's spoken to me about it, is that when lay people hear this stuff, right, what happens is it just goes straight over their head. Because what's happening is, and I can see people actually nodding, they're going, yep, this is what's happening. Because what's happening is everyone's on a different part of their journey of awakening, right? And so we're transcending. And this is something that I spoke with Graham about. And so what I've noticed is, like, through my platform, I speak to a lot of people every single day. I've spent thousands and thousands of hours speaking to people all the time, every single day. And what they have been looking for, right, is a solution and a leader for this solution. So they look to the political system, you know, they're looking for something. Give me a leader. What they say to me is, Madonna, what is the answer? And I have never given answers because I have always said, you are the answer you seek, okay? I've always talked about law, L-O-R-E, and sovereignty. This is what I've said from the beginning. Okay, you are the answer you seek. And the problem is people want a solution that negates their responsibility to do anything. That is actually the problem, okay? And so when I was talking to Graham about the QMS system and what people are talking about possibly in here, I've come in, and I don't even know how long you've been going, sorry, because I was talking to people up here in Queensland about other stuff. I'm originally from Victoria, by the way. So watching what happened today was phenomenal for me. But what we're facing is people who are on this amazing journey of saying, I know that where I've come from does not work. The system's broken. And what BS19, right, has actually solidified for everyone is the system is an illusion. It's broken. It doesn't work anymore. So that's what it's here to do. It's here for people to awaken, to transcend. And so People know that much, but what they don't know is what vehicle do we need to move forward. So they're still going, do we need sovereignty? Do we need the First Nations people? Do we need the People's Treaty? Do we need the QMS system? Do we need politicians? It's politicians. Let's go with, the United Australia Party. Let's go with this party. Let's go with that party. So people are still journeying on, I need a leader. And so for me, what I do basically is translate this jargon into a way that people understand. This is what you're going through. This is where we're going. This is the vehicle to go in. Because otherwise, what's happening is people are talking another jargon, right? And that's what the political system is, a jargon. And you've got to realise, like for me, well, you don't have to realise anything, but for me, the invitation is there to understand that for the people that are sitting in here, you've transcended to a certain level. So there are people in here that are at certain levels of their transcendence, right? And so this jargon's really easy for some people, and they're talking about, so for me, this right to self-determination and the agency over oneself, I understand that really well, right? But I can say that to someone else and they don't know what that means. That's just going to go over their head. They don't really, it doesn't go from here to here. So what my role, I think, is, and this is what I do, is to take that head knowledge and put it straight to people's hearts so that they get, this is the transcendence. We're done. We don't need a new normal. We don't need a new BS19 normal. Normal didn't work for us, kids. It's over. It's finished. I don't want to go back there. That was sickness. That's that normal, right, that everyone wanted. That wasn't us living in a symbiotic relationship to each other. That's not what that was. Where we're going is the People's Treaty or the QMS system, whatever it is that other people have spoken about in here. But in order to do that, you need a translation process. We must have a translation process. Otherwise, people will get lost. And you know what they will do? They will revert back to the old system because they don't understand it. What they do understand is the Westminster system. They understand, and that is exactly what happens to people. They get confused, they revert back to the default mechanism. So what I was discussing with Graham was about how important language is. How important language is. Remember that we are talking to people, right? As leaders, we are talking to people who have been through so much trauma. Okay, so including all of you here, and everyone responds differently to trauma. My background's in behavioural science, and there's even, the jury's out on whether it even is a science, right? So, because everything's an illusion, but what is real is the effect of cortisol being in a heightened stress state does to your brain, okay? This will be my next live, by the way, so anyone listening, don't go live with this. This is my next live. So what cortisol does to the actual brain and a prolonged stress state is this. It actually stops people from concentrating. They cannot absorb information. It stops the synapses in the brain. This is your audience. So if you're going to sit there and be like, and then, you're saying all this jargon, because that's what it sounds like to people. Not to me. I understand it. I get the concepts. I'm there. I'm with you. I'm like, this is exciting. Oh my God, amazing. We're gonna have agency over ourselves. We get to have the right to self-determination. This is going to be the way forward. But for other people who have been through, think about what we've all been through in the last couple of years, and the fact that people cannot see a future, right? So this is what I was talking to Graham about, and about how to actually present this information that is friendly, like jargon, like, do you know what I mean? Like jargon friendly, I suppose. And that's where I see my role. because my background's in teaching, and I understand, you know, how to get kind of concepts that can be quite difficult to understand and make them a little bit easier for people to understand. And also I understand trauma, and so that's where I'm coming from. So Graham, does that sit with you? Are you like,
Yeah, no, that's
and
perfect.
that's enough, isn't it? I mean, I'm
Thank
done.
you. No, look, love your work. I really do. Thank you. And like today, I without working with you this past week, I wouldn't have been able to stand up the way I did today in front of that crowd and talk. So I really appreciate it, Madonna. I really do. And I love the way you've put everything in. And she's exactly right. I mean, like the problem we're having is in our messaging. It is in people's understanding of the concept we're trying to bring forth. It's not an overly particularly difficult concept to understand, but the issue we're having really is that people aren't used to it. It's something brand new to them. And when something's brand new, they're a little standoffish. And I'm finding that's I think that might be a big part of the brick wall we're hitting. So we've got to get our messaging clear. We've got to get the word out there properly to people. And we've got to explain that so the way, and I'm just going to have a quick shot at this, Madonna. I'd love to have your thoughts on this, but the way I see this is we need Dylan's law construct in order to have jurisdiction over in this case. So we need the sovereign nations on board with what Dylan's creating, the Bora courts and all of that side of Dylan's work. We non-original people, I guess, need to sign up with people's treaties. So we're actually approaching in the correct way. And then we need to get onto the QMS and become a member in the QMS and at the same time download the democracy app. So I'm asking people to do 4 things in order to secure their sovereignty and to free their country themselves and to bring their children to a safe place. And that's how we will become self-determining. So I think by breaking it down to those 4 simple steps, and look, it's an ask, you've got to sign up with basically 4 different concepts and 4 different ideals to get to where we need to be. But look, by doing that, we then bring everybody else across. We run a referendum, we get the will of the people in. That's the final stage. And if we can message everything to the point that we've got it clear and linked platforms, linked information across the board and unified people behind what this is meant to be, which it's our freedom we're buying, you know, that's where we're at. If we want to be free, as Dylan said earlier in a conversation we had with some of the people that are in this meeting, every other way that people are trying to take us and within the movement leads to our certain doom. We can only do this with the sovereigns. If they die, if they're gone, we have no claim over this land at all. And the corporation will take it over and we're screwed. We're gone. There's nothing we can do to stop them if that happens. So we need to work hand in hand with the sovereign people of this country, with the tribal nations. We need to get Dylan's concepts up. Yeah, sorry, Didge, come in, mate. I know you've got something you wanted to say while Madonna was talking, but just, mate, jump in.
Just way back on that last statement you made there. It's not if the elders and the sovereigns were to pass on, it would be a horrible situation, yes, but it would not be the end of it, because what is here is not real. It never had a real claim. What was here before, what is here, was real and can be brought to life again at any stage, because it's been maintained right up to this moment. Now we're already in this conversation, which means we've already acknowledged the fact that these nations exist. We don't even know their boundaries, but that's irrelevant. We know they're here. We know they existed prior to the lie that founded this alleged nation we live in now, that has formulated the system of crown language and law, which has then been forfeited and picked up by a corporation, and we're all enslaving. We're getting enslaved more and more with each day that goes on, right? So where we're at now, we're talking about national sovereignty, which is a discussion that this system is not involved in. You realise that? National sovereignty is something this system has no right to ever claim. So it's not in the conversation. We're already figured out where to be in this conversation to make sure something changes by acknowledging what is real and talking about it as our solution. So no longer can the system make any claim over any of us, provided we can maintain the integrity in what we're doing, which is upholding the truth and national sovereignty of nations, right, that they have the right of way. So we're working together to protect those nations and be on a parallel standard internationally across all these nations. So we have the same rights granted to each of us and the same responsibility with one another to protect each other in those rights. So we will get it right. And in terms of leadership, we're leading by example because we're not asking questions of a system that has no right to answer them. We're walking forward in directions that people will come to these directions because they will constantly seek an answer, and they will constantly headbutt a wall that will not give until they need to find an answer that is beyond that wall. And if we're constantly moving forward, then we're already well beyond that wall. And we welcome everybody to join us on this journey, you know, and that's why I agree with you. We should be signing on to all these things that are in respect of the original nation's national sovereignty. We should be pushing as much energy into the point of this spear as we can. And the very, you know, I wouldn't call it Dylan's idea for international law. It's got nothing to do with me. What that is just recognition of the fact that each nation has the right to law. And by recognizing that, it opens the doorway to allow for international alliances and law agreements between those nations. All I've done is conceptualize something that is entirely the right of the nations to decide and declare and independently create however they feel. You know, this, all I've done is conceptualize it so that it can be visualized and it can be seen as a resulting process out of this. Because in full respect to the Protocol for Nations, I'm a non-sovereign. I'm protected by the national sovereignty of the nation I live on right now through the integrity that I have here. But I'm not a sovereign, you know, until the entire nation here is aware of its nationhood. None of us are sovereign except for the original sovereigns with the bloodline. So that's how it works. So our personal sovereignty is something we are trying to work towards having the right to maintain, because the nations we live on are granting us the right to maintain it without opposition. And that's how we work into this future of everybody working as one. But we've got to stay within the bounds of nations at this present point in time, because that's how the world is set up, and that's how all the contract on the planet is set up. And we need to dissolve all of that contract, and we have to do it in a way that's parallel to what exists, but never under their jurisdiction. We have a first in time, first in right jurisdiction in honouring the original nations here, and we are not contract to any of it. And that's our position from now onwards. We are part of the nations we stand on. We don't need to seek permission. We just need to honour that truth, you know. And look, in no disrespect to those people who think it's the right thing to do, but taking flags to the rallies like today, I have to admit, watching it, it looked like a United Nations assembly. It was just absolutely hectic, looking at so many flags from so many nations when there's actually not a single flag there representing the Kulin nation flying above all of that, which is where you were. So all those national flags were standing on another nation's land in a big crowd like that. The symbology in that the globe sees, that we need to really have a discussion about somewhere along the lines and make sure we're not dishonoring what is the real flag of the country that we're on. And upside down Union Jacks is a terrible idea in my opinion, because it's an SOS to a system that we're trying to end. And we can't ask them to come and support us and give them that authority at any time in this, because that just empowers them to continue down that path. So I should shut up. I can talk all day.
You're right,
So
brother. I love the one thing you'll get from Dylan and I is the truth, the way we see it all the time, and Madonna, and you know, I'm so many people in here that I've come to know and love in the time that I've been getting to know you all. So, and that's what we've got to do. We all need to stand in our truth. We all need to be who we are, and it's a time of creation. This is not a time of destruction. So we need to create. We need to move forward. One thing that Madonna and I also discussed this week is that you don't all realize it, but you're actually all free. We've always been free, right? It comes from within, and those doors are all unlocked. All those prisons that we create within our mind, they're actually unlocked. When you try the handle, they open and they disappear really, really quickly. It's just a matter of recognizing your limitations in thought. I can't do that. Yeah, I can. Right? That's the first thing. I can't do it. I'm not good enough, right? Once you realize you are good enough and you can do it in anything that you try, you may not succeed the first time. You may run up against a brick wall, but it's learning. You fail, you learn. You hurt, you learn. you get up and do it again, and you do it again until you get it right and that door opens. And the mind is no different to any other thing that you do in life. Everything you try and do, the more you try, the more you get there. So, but we really want to do this the right way. There's only one way to bring the constructs that we're talking here to life, and that is the right way. So there's as Madhu has said many times, and Madhu, I always credit you this, there's new way, old way, right way, right? That's what we've got to do. So everyone needs to start unlocking all those little prison doors that are holding them back at the moment from being who they need to be and being who they really are and should be, and step forth without fear, because you've got all us to support you, and there's many, many more out there. We're not going to judge you if you fail. We'll pick you up and run with you and help you succeed where we can. That's who we are. That's the people that we wish to be. So if we all work together, and that's what we're trying to do, is we're bringing everyone together to have the discussions, to open the door to the chats that need to happen. Now, something else that was just discussed today, the protests should probably, I know they're getting a lot more effect in the city because more people are going to see them, but we need to have other things happening too. Like, we should be having all of the tribal people, elders come together, the lawmen and women come together with us in the sacred meeting grounds, which in Victoria, in Melbourne, is Government House. So if we do that and we have our discussions there, we bring People's Treaty forth and the law construct forth and the QMS forth, that's where we can get our endorsement from, in the right place, in the right way, because we are those government houses, and I'm sure it's the same in every state. I haven't had a chance to check it, so don't take this as gold or word, but I suspect strongly that government houses were put on sacred sites, sacred meeting grounds, to prevent the tribal people from having their connection to each other's tribes and being able to have that connection to spirit and earth and ancestors at the same time. And that is part of their life. And they've prevented them from being able to do that. So by doing that, they couldn't muster a defense against what was coming in and taking over the land. And then no war was ever declared against them. No treaty was ever done, as you heard Dylan say before. So what they did was they cut them off from the only way that they could actually defend themselves and protect themselves before they even realized that they had invaders here. And then they've gone about genociding them and removing them so they can actually take on the jurisdiction within the land, right? So that's how this has been brought to this point, is my understanding and what I see. And honestly, that is a simplified version. So what I'm trying to do at the moment is really work to get the message out that that's what actually occurred. All the rest of it, to me, appears to be fluff, right? There is no constitution. There is no law in this land. There's only LORE law. And the only reason that they put you in prison, that they give you a fine, is because you add your will to the system. If every one of us took our will out of that system, or even more than half of us did, right, and you're seeing that system collapse, right? So the more of us that take our will out and place it in the new constructs, and better constructs may come from what Dylan and I have created yet. And if that's the case, hey, I'll cede to them. I don't have a problem with that. This isn't about who's best or who's greatest, or this isn't about ego for us. This is about doing the right thing. And I mean, look, at the end of the day, we wouldn't be doing it if we didn't believe in what we're doing. And as I say, I can't lose this. I'm in this fight for my son and for your kids and for everyone's kids. The kids are the most important thing that we all have. And if we fail this, if we let it down, then we're going to have to teach our children to fight what we leave behind, or to live in what we leave behind. And I tell you what, if they get the New World Order in, who wants to be part of that? I certainly don't. And I'm not going to be running away from people and being scared at any stage of my life, because fear is the greatest and most debilitating force around. And they've used it appropriately to stop these discussions coming up and the creations coming up, and to focus people away from what they should be focused on, which is what we're actually doing here now. We've stepped out of those boundaries, and the people in this meeting right now, you're with us, you're seeing the truth as it stands. There is, and this is not ego, this is just as I see it. There is only one way forward. And if we do this together in unity with our tribal people, and we do it right way, and we're honorable about it, and stand in our truth, and come from a heart space, we have to succeed. I mean, the creator of the universe is going to give us everything we need. I'm seeing that on a daily basis. So when a person like Madonna, contacts me and says, "Hey, I think it's time I get involved with what you're doing," after, you're like, wow, I need somebody like this at the moment to bring this message in. When Dylan and I had our little chat and I understood Dylan's concepts properly, it's the same. And with Penny, with her finding people, I mean, when Penny brought the Democracy app to me, at first I wasn't sure what to do with it. And all of a sudden, bang, everything clicked into place. I met the guys, we got the deal, we got Australia and New Zealand, rights to Australia and New Zealand. So when you're coming from here and you want to do it for a really good reason, and a good reason isn't to put money in your pocket or your own security. In fact, if anyone knows, a lot of us who are really working on what we're doing at the moment have actually put our own security at risk in order to bring this forth. And I mean, we don't ask anything from anyone. We don't care, right? That's just part of who we are. What we want to do is we want to protect ourselves. We want to protect our country, but most of all, we want to protect our children. And I mean, look, probably, I think it's 70% of our movement is female, and there's a lot of lionesses out there, and all those lionesses are going to fight and kill for their children if we don't get something like and what I'm saying is that's wrong. We don't want to kill people. We don't want to have a rebellion. We don't want to have a war, right? But we need to stand firm and we need to stand strong, but we need to do it the right way, intelligently, with the right people moving forward and into the right place, with knowing what direction we're taking and how we're getting there. That's how you move anything from concept through to actuality. And we've gotten 3/4 of the way through. We really have to get our endorsements in place. And again, we're working on that. We're networking all week. We're doing everything we can to bring the people together and to talk to the right people. And some people come to us, which is really cool. And that shows me then that this is the right way and we're being guided, and the people are being directed to what we're doing. So if we're heading that direction, we keep going that direction. And as things come in, all of the jigsaw puzzle pieces just go bang, 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 and fall into place. And we're watching that happen at the moment. All right. So it's a really exciting time. I'm learning a lot. I've learned a lot since I've started this. And all of I was awake, most of my life as to what was going on. And I became spiritually awake last year. But what I've had is a life that's trained me for this moment. And I think a few people in this room, in this Zoom, probably feel the same. Every experience you have has brought you to now, right? And when you can look back on it and actually see the lessons learned and then apply them in the current situation, when something bad pops up, be able to apply it and just walk through it with ease. I mean, honestly, it is an amazing feeling. Madhu, I know you've been sitting there a while, mate. I'm sorry, but come in. I'd love to hear your question, mate. If you still remember it after me and Dylan and everyone been rabbiting on for such a long time.
I'm kind of curious as to who else is in the group, because no doubt this is a bit of a group of talent. But I did want to just sort of clear up something said. It's like, sorry, probably a bit of an echo right there. New way, old way together, proper way. That's the property of Aunt Nellie. Okay. Whilst I was on that bead, and I've been, it sort of all just fell into place. She gave me that to put to what I was telling her, saying, and you do this, and so it's not my property, and I extend it because it was given to me. So it's like, all I've got is my bead bag and my family around me for the time, and that's about it, as far as what I own. No, mate, I'd love to say, Madonna. Sorry. I'd love to say, Madonna, I would dearly love to try and communicate to you what I got in my head, and particularly what's in my heart, because I think I've been chewing on this stuff for such a long time that I've got some pithy little things to just throw out there as my own little contributions, like original reset. Sure. The things to chew on are these little bits that sort of take to the people where they can get something a lot out of just a little turn of phrase. It's got to be the right one. It was like all the way through Rukshan's feed today, I'm putting out there that we need to be saying the people and our tribes will always be united. The people and our tribes will always stand united. You know, the chants, the words, the intentions, the delivery, the sound, the volume, the cadence, everything has got to be. I mean, come on, Melbourne. Like, I was part of the glorious, you know, the social justice and things when I lived in Melbourne, and you know, I was part of 2010 Occupy Melbourne. I'm going to talk of my own histories here because, you know, I've found myself there with the tribal people all the way. It was like, well, it was then that I came in touch with OSTF, right? And then later I came to sign the treaty out at Uluru with Uncle from Country, took him out and was there with all the fellas, and big stuff, big stuff. And no way to even talk properly, right? But I'm working along with those fellas too, and I'm sharing what I can share. But I tell you, it's a rare air that can share what I know. And there's few tribal people out there that can hear from someone like me directly, and nor would I try to actually approach directly, but also time's so limited, you know. And now we've got this medium, and honestly, it's not about it is about personalities in country, in the bloodlines, in the stories, in the law, and all sorts of things, right? That's relevant, that's real. But our egos are the trouble with, like everyone else here is saying, it's like it is up to us, but we've got to get ourselves out of the way to get this done. We've got to stop. Our ego is the thing that we assert that we are, or that we hide that we're not, you know, and we're trying to extract and manipulate and exploit everyone else because we can't be truthful, because we've got split mind, split heart, split tongue, everything's split energy, split everything. So this coming together, uniting thing, it's so simple in my eyes. It's like I just want to get into the matrix and just download my program and go, it's all good, folks. We can do this, you know.
Sure.
Because the only way is tribal sovereignty. It was never ceded. It has never been ceded. Talk about a device. The AB study document. Mark McMurtry talks about this all the time, right? This is one of his things from a long time ago. Gun and Buddy Jagamar, and who's one of the co-conveners of OSTF. The AB study document says that if you were married in tribal law, then that's okay. So their own corporate document, not just the Commonwealth stuff, the fake Commonwealth, you know, stuff, said, oh yeah, you've still got your law. So it has continued, even in their realm. It's acknowledged, boom, out the park. They can't hear it because they're all pedophiles. And if they're not pedophiles, they're mates with pedophiles who scratch their back and give them favors and get them up the ladder in other ways. So the whole rotten 28, 29, including media moguls, personalities, law, and law enforcement, a whole freaking lot. And hence why I say, and I stress, and I'll put a great big neon sign around it, that if we're not talking about a better system of honour, we're not talking, right? Because the tribal system is in honour itself. Our jurisdiction of coming to the place where we want to be seen as equals, because treaty means between equals. It can't be inferior and superior. So how do we be seen in that realm? It's got to be a conversation, treaty, series, conferences.
A big part of it's about integrity and holding people to that, isn't it? Yeah, from what you're saying, Madhu.
Absolutely. Yeah. Sovereignty is about putting in that, you know, so it's a whole thing, and I'd love to download it, and I'm trying to get it out there as much as I can.
I'm
holding
actually,
some.
I am across sovereignty, and it is a great idea for public officials of any kind to keep them honest and keep them within a point of integrity and honour. And that, look, we've got a little bit of work to do with Madhu on that, but I think that will become part eventually of what we're doing too. But that, again, I don't make all the decisions in what we're doing. I've just created the QMS, right? Dylan's created a law system and a way to approach. Madhu's created an integrity-based system to keep it all in. And this is how these things sort of fall together. So there's steps and stages. Madonna, sorry, you muted there, Dale, if you want to.
Can I just interject there? I think that I love that integrity-based system. And I think the thing is, we're coming from a system that has no basis in integrity whatsoever, right? And so what I am seeing, right, is that people want this. This is where the system people are coming from. As long as I can pay my mortgage, look after my kids, they go to school, everything's looked after, I don't actually want to be involved in right, having any agency over myself or any right to self-determination. That's the system they've come from, right? And so the system they've come from doesn't have integrity. So when they see a little bit of corruption, and by the way, I've seen this in this movement, which actually not only blows my mind, boils my blood, right? So what happens when people see a little bit of corruption here and there? They go, oh, well, if it's for the greater good, doesn't really matter, does it? We see it in Parliament all the time. As long as I can pay my mortgage, as long as I'm okay, F you, Jack, right? That has been the system we've come from. So for me, I'm a visionary, right? So, and I've seen this coming from 20 years ago. So I can see the future. I can see the future of where we're going. I can see this is amazing. We are transcending. Out with the old, in with the evolution. Let's go, right? But what you are talking about is explaining this to people who, at a base level, are basically saying, take care of it for me, guys. And that is where, so for the people who are sitting in this Zoom, right, they get it. You're going to be, at some level, you're going to be the compound effect, right? You're going to be the people who are going to expand this exponentially, right? You're going to compound this message exponentially out into the stratosphere, and that's what we want, yeah? But how do you send this message out to people who oftentimes are looking for the leader or the people to do it for them?
Can I interject for a second?
Sure.
So it's about, so what's missing, and I'm loving what you're saying, but it's about having it land for the other people. It's when in their listening of what we're saying, it's about having it land so it makes sense, so they can understand it intellectually, right? So that's what I was talking to Graham about today, and I mentioned that to Dylan as well, with all the information that you guys are sharing, and I get it as well, completely. But the average person, it's kind of like, I've done a lot of trauma and a lot of healing, and I'm trauma informed as well, so I get exactly where you're coming from and what you're saying. And when you are in the midst of trauma and the cortisol's going and all of that sort of stuff, yeah, none of it lands. It's just going poof, straight over your head, because you just can't, your head can't think about that sort of shit. So it's got to be point form and easy to understand. And that's...
Can I explain? Madonna, before you came in, Madonna, it's nice to meet you. I've followed some of your lives, just seen some of my chat. Yeah, we get it. We already get each other. We can see just from commenting on your lives. Quite interesting how that's happened. Yeah. So very spiritually connected, both of us. But to me, I want to explain this. You know, when you get on that high and you have adrenaline rushing through your body, right? It's a spiritual connection that you're having. So to me, you're not going to get this concept until you're at a certain level, okay? And this is what the Great Awakening is to me, is that we're slowly stepping up that ladder and we're getting to the level, right? And only so many people are going to get this concept by the awakening experience. And you can see, you can feel the energy at the rallies and everything. We're actually nearly getting to that level. More and more people are, I just feel excited more every weekend when I see these rallies, because I'm feeding off the energy, right? And so we're actually getting there. We're getting there. And it's all about timing. And I believe it's prophecy to happen at a certain time, right, Dylan? Dylan, you'll understand, because you've been told this too by the First Nation people. There's a certain timing. This is going to happen. But at the beginning of this meeting, I did explain it the best way I could, which is a referendum system of policies built by the people for the people, and the certain levels of algorithms, and they're getting to the top, and then we vote on it, and it becomes a policy that we've built by the people. But we, the people, need to understand that concept only right now. We have to understand that until we participate in these ideas and building the society that we want to live in, that's what it's about for me. And that's how I explain it to people. And I get them excited. And it's about getting them excited in that spiritual level of understanding of where we're at right now in this nation with our First Nation people, with the way that they live and breathe and think, and food is medicine and all the things that excite me. That's what we're learning. That's where we're nearly getting there. You know, more and more people are coming. They're catching up, right? They're catching up with the people as misfits, like we were always misfits. And now we've all come together. We found our tribe of misfits, and we're actually becoming the normal people. So we're gathering them, and we're actually getting it now. More and more people are getting it. So for me, that's the way I can explain it, the simplest way.
That's perfect.
None of you
Perfect.
guys were ever crazy. We're not crazy, okay? What we are is we're actually the sane ones, okay? We're the ones who thought we were crazy for years, but we are actually the sane people. We can see what's going on.
Yeah.
So I only realised that at the start of this year myself. Ryan had a question, I think, before. So Ryan, hey, mate, it's great. It was great to meet you in person today.
Yeah, same, Graham. Same. It was an absolute pleasure to be there today. It wasn't so much of a question. Penelope Petty just asked if I wanted to have a chat. It's I know Madonna as well. Madonna and I have spent many hours on the phone. How are you, sweetheart? Same as Didge. I've had a couple of really good yards with Didge, and it's all just what. Yeah, won't go too much into that, but we're not talking about how I found people and all that sort of shit. But like today, I was at the march today, and I was by Zelenak all day today. You saw it, Graham. Like we jumped up on the truck, and Madhu rang me up a couple of weeks ago and said you got to stand beside him all day. So I did. I was with him nearly the whole day until I had to come home this evening. But it was a massive learning curve. The people I spoke to today, even. I can't remember her name, Auntie, down here in Melbourne, and some of the stuff she was telling me. I've got to go to a house in Coburg. I think, Graham, you might have met her already, or you were there the other night, or Ed Gilbert was.
Was that
I've been invited to
Alex, was it?
Yeah, up in Coburg.
Hey, Colleen.
Yeah, she explained a bit, and this shit fuckery just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Something that I wasn't even I'm aware of a few things, but yeah, so that's going to be a hell of a learning curve. But what I spoke to a lot of people about today, and I get it. Like I speak to Didge, I'm not a full bottle on it. Like if I want clarification about QMS, Graham, I'll talk to you. What Penny just said, then that's my understanding of QMS. In blockchain, it's people voting for the people. It's a great system, I believe. People's treaty is the same, but if I point people in the direction to go and have a yarn about get Didge on YouTube and have a listen to him. If they want, I'll have a chat with Didge. Didge going to pass your phone number out, whatever. It's all that connecting people. The biggest thing I'm seeing at the moment is, and it's happening now, is unity. And I've done 2 protests. I don't do protests. You're begging the government for permission. I watched it today. Zelenak did his massive speech at the start. It was absolutely freaking unreal. And the whole crowd shut up. They were all listening. They weren't sitting there talking between themselves. They were actually listening. And unfortunately, I don't know. I've only met her a couple of times. Jackie Dundee jumps up, and I appreciate everything that she's done in the past, but it's completely fucking irrelevant. It's a broken system, and there's no remedy in it. And that's what I've been searching for, is for a solution. And lo and behold, I stumbled across Didge. Madhu put me in touch with Graham. Madonna as well. She's been a massive teacher of mine as well. And here we find ourselves. But it all comes down to unity. That's what we're seeing at the moment. The people are actually uniting, and they're searching for something. And like today, I didn't get to see it. I haven't watched the live stream yet. Like I literally, as you know, I got home, jumped on the Zoom. So I'll watch what you and Ed said this morning or this afternoon, whenever it was, after Zelenak and I left. And I'll have a proper listen to that and get my head around it. But people are asking for it. I'm going, have you heard of QMS? And they're like, no. I've gone, fucking, you want to check this shit out. And people are interested. They're searching for that solution. And whether it is a person or not, like a single figure, we can call them politicians or whatever. Politicians is a terrible word, but like people are searching for it. And a little bit that I do on Facebook, I'm not big on Facebook. I never wanted to even do a live stream on it, but started doing it because the government basically threatened the welfare of my children. And I jumped on and did it. I've spoken to McDonald about it way back earlier on in the piece, and people are getting there now. It's good. So this stuff's got to keep going. And like Madonna, I'm just a messenger. And if I'm going to point them in a direction for them to see what's going on, I'm going to point them to the developers of these concepts like yourself and Didge. Zelenak, you want to talk about tribal law? Talk to bloody Zelenak. Don't talk to me about it. But I get it. I understand it. I completely respect it. But I'm not the man to talk to about it. So, yeah, it's keep doing what you're doing, guys. And, yeah, you got my 100% support on this. I'll do whatever I can. Bear in mind, I've got 3 young children and a wife and a business to take care of and all the rest of it. But we'll keep tracking along. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be a part of.
Can I just say something to you? Can I say something to Ryan?
Of course.
Graham, is that
Yeah,
okay?
Of course, it doesn't take 4 hours.
I'll be quick, but I just want to say something that, you were talking about. I was watching the live. He actually zoomed me into the live. I live in Queensland, originally from Victoria, and I want to say something about the energy that it gives us around Australia, right? Because there's a lot of Victorians that live in other states, and even the people that, all of us that live around Australia. When we watch what goes on in Victoria, I can tell you it is like the heartbeat of the country. And I'm probably biased because I come from Victoria, but when I was listening to those drum beats, right, I was like, this is amazing. You can actually feel the energy through the device that you're looking through, right? It was unbelievable. And so for me, I understand that people are searching for something. I get that. And I know you're an amazing, messenger, Ryan, and the people that have chosen to, come out and do their lives and do whatever it is and be a voice, because your voice matters. Every voice matters, right? But for me, that Victoria could do what it does today, and now the solutions lie with integrity. For me, that's amazing. So pointing to these, the QMS system and to Zelenak and to the People's Treaty and to the people that actually have solutions that not only hold integrity, but are a way forward. It does not go back to the old system. For me, that's what's exciting. And so I have to say, I'm really grateful for the people that have actually heard the invitation from the universe because the reality is, right, we're energy in motion, and people have taken the invitation from the universe to say, right, I'm here now. This is what I have been chosen to do in this moment, and they've brought that forward, right? And so I'm really grateful for those people for doing that, for all of you here. And to you, Ryan, you're 6'8". I saw you on Rukshan's live. It was amazing. And to all of you out there today, it was absolutely amazing, no matter where you were in Australia. It was unbelievable. So that's what I want to say to you, Ryan, and everyone in here. You've been chosen for this particular time on the planet, and it's an exciting space to be in. And I feel really honoured to be part of it, to be honest. So thank you, Graham.
Thank you, Madonna. Look, I'm really honoured to be part of this too, to be quite honest. I may have been the vehicle for which this was put forth with the QMS, but this really is about creating unity, and it is about creating integrity, and it is about creating the correct jurisdiction and lawfulness on this continent. And we can only do that if we all stand in our truth and do the right thing. And that's what I've said for a long time. It's not a time for destruction. This is a time for creation. The evil seeds its own destruction every single time. Lies always come out. So we have the time now to bring forth a new construct and create. We don't want to bring back what was there. We don't need that. That was rubbish. We want to put in place a much better system, a much better country, a much better way of living. And by doing that, we raise all the people up with us and we can change this world. It all started here. We can end it here. And I mean, like, without all these heart-based people coming along, all these highly intelligent people that are coming in to work together as one, we can't do it. And we need everyone we can get who wants to create and use our platform and be part of spreading the message about what we're doing. And then we'll get there. And this is what we've got to do. We've got to keep spreading the message. We've all got to use whatever platforms we can find, whatever opportunity we get to get the message out that the constructs are coming together, and this appears to be where it's happening. So the QMS has got all the groups there. We've got a website. Dylan's created a heap of great stuff within People's Treaty with the People's Orders, and I'd highly recommend everyone gets in there and has a really good look through Dylan's site. We should make that a prerequisite, Dylan. You and I, if they're coming to one or other site, they've got to join the other one and go through it as well, because that would help introduce people to both concepts much better.
We can send them there to start learning. But, you know, I'm not trying to tell anyone how to do things, but I will just mention the questions before about how do we do this, you know, with the majority sort of comprehending and coming along with us for this journey. The way we do that is by talking about jurisdiction, which is something that is underneath everything that is in front of us. We're going to the foundational issue that governs the entire construct that's in front of us now. So when we approach that situation, we have foundational lawful jurisdiction, and we're finding accountability for those who are criminal in their assumption of the jurisdiction now. We've got to replace them in the current system as it stands while we annex it. So this is where I bring in the concept of annexing the system. So that makes it the system as it stands, minus its criminal element, will be used to continue the continuation of governance as it stands. So whilst we transition into something else, to avoid chaos and to educate the blind masses in a way that doesn't require very much from them at all, just a little bit of education about how things will be different. So instead of having federal elections for the whole continent, we'll have federal elections for our local national governments, and we'll have local national government changes, and our election processes, etc., will become closer to home and less inclined to interfere with all the other business going on the continent. So there's not much to worry about in that sense, because the direction we take, now we're a freedom movement. We're like thousands of people going out today and other days, getting out there and working together. And the moment we stop talking to the system and we talk only to ourselves and the original nations guide us in how we progress on their countries, we will be creating the way forward. And the rest of the public has no choice really but to witness it and be present in it, because the media can create a narrative against just about anything that we put forward. They cannot create a narrative against the original nation's sovereignty. There is no evidence contrary anywhere on the planet that can give right of way to anything over the national sovereignty of the original nations. And because of that, we the people holding that conversation en masse in our freedom movement is presenting the rest of the people our truth, away from the narrative about the bullshit 19. You know, we don't need to worry about COVID. That, for some of us who've been in this for many years, you know, I've been 7 years in this conversation with original people about national sovereignty, and the last 4 years working, or nearly 5 years, working straight ahead on People's Treaty. And, you know, this has been the culmination of a lot of stuff, but the COVID-19 garbage has brought everyone to the conversation at a point where they know there's something seriously wrong, and they're learning that foundational jurisdiction is it, and government empowers itself with the fact that this law exists as the foundation of law. And they're bullying us at the moment. We're standing up and they're bullying back. And that's what we're seeing at Carby. That's what we're seeing with David Cole being arrested regularly. But what we are seeing now in Victoria is the first time the police are stepping right back in these situations and not trying to imply any bully tactics. because all of a sudden the conversation is about sovereignty. And it's something that police don't have any authority to get involved in. And this is where the rest of the world and the global concepts of self-determining nations and national sovereignty is so important for people to comprehend. You know, I recommend everyone, if they haven't already, define on Google what is national sovereignty. In those two words, define it, and you'll read that it's absolute and uncontrollable, and it's the right to law without interference from other nations. Okay, so it is the ultimate law and construct of law and jurisdiction, no matter how you approach it. So we can't deny the original people their national sovereignty because they can prove a connection that's beyond 233 years that goes for thousands of generations. And because of that, anything else that it tries to assume national sovereignty has lawful opposition. And if you have lawful opposition, then you have no integrity in your law. And so if it's got no integrity, again, it's not law. So we are talking about truth and honor and integrity and genuine, responsibility in our own lives. But the greater community at large is ignorant at this stage, ignorant to the crimes against them and ignorant in the way we move forward as well. But we can bring them with us quite peacefully and quite easily just by applying the right energy in the right places as a movement of people. We're already proving that we're reaching high into the numbers that are necessary to form change, because historically 4.3 to 5% of a nation's peacefully united in one direction can form change in their government constructs without war. When it goes into war, you go up into 10 to 15% of your population gets involved, and then there's mass loss, and it can get even worse than that. So we're nearly there. When we've got 400,000 people in Melbourne and 100,000 in Sydney, that's 500,000 people. In two cities alone, if you put everyone in every rally together, you're probably reaching 1 million, if not over. 1 million people is 1/20th of our nation almost. We're nearly there, but we're not all on the same page yet. And that's the part where we have the power now by making this conversation relevant. And it's just a conversation. It's the amazing part of it.
And Dylan, it's bringing this conversation to the masses, right? So that's what the next step is.
Well,
yeah.
It'll get there. As soon as we make it relevant in what we do as a movement, then the masses won't. That's what they'll be hearing from us. That's what they'll be learning from us. And they won't be, oh, you're a bunch of conspiracy theorists. We'll be like, no, actually, we're talking about legitimate jurisdiction issues on this continent and an ongoing genocide, which we will not be complicit in.
Yeah.
Now, that's the big one in everything. Complicity in genocide is right now defined as an international crime. And because of that, every international body of law and every body of law is currently complicit and won't find any ability for genocide. Now, what that means for us is the very logical moral principle that nobody can ask you to commit a crime knowingly. Okay, we all agree on that, right? Nobody can ask us to commit a crime knowingly. Okay, and now if it is determined an international crime to be complicit in genocide, then absolutely no man, woman, or child is obligated to remain complicit in genocide on this continent, and we have no obligation to give authority or jurisdiction to this system whatsoever. And it's already been yielded more than once over the last 50 years. The Crown left because of the truth coming forward, and it's our way to go. So I'll shut up now. I just wanted to get that clear.
Dylan actually explains it really well. I also saw Matty Lawson's in. So Matt, would you mind joining us? So Matt's been with us for a while. I'd love to bring him in because he explains what we're doing really well too. So yeah, Matty, how you going, mate? How were you were you there today? I was there. So yeah, fun day.
I wasn't there today. You'll be able to hear it in my voice. I've been sick for the last week.
COVID.
I had what I think. Yeah, no, I have what I think is what they call COVID. I can let you guys know it's just a bad flu. I feel I feel stronger now than I felt beforehand. And this is what I've said to everyone all the way along, that if you understand your body and you eat the right things and you're doing the right things, this is no different to anything we've ever had in the past, except for a control mechanism. I can't talk a lot. I didn't go today just because I didn't want to get anyone else sick or whatever else. But I was just going to say as well that I think it's really great what Dylan's doing. I've been at Parliament pretty much every night of the week last week until I got sick, and then I took the last 3 days off. But I think what Dylan's doing and what the other guys are doing about sovereign nations is really important. The most important thing I think right now that we need is a very clear and concise message, something that all of us can put out there within, a minute when you're having a conversation, and just win people across. I'm so sorry, I can't.
That's okay.
I can't speak. I've had the funniest week. I'm going to tell you guys a story. It can't go outside of this Zoom, but it's a funny one.
Yeah, and I do record these and put them up publicly, mate. So just so you know before.
I don't care. I'll tell it anyway. Last Saturday, so this is how big Melbourne was. We had around about 400,000 people out on the streets. At Flagstaff, I was so excited afterwards. I went in and was shaking hands and hugging people. And I came across this little circle of hippies sitting on the grass. And one of them said to me, "Do you want a cookie?" And I was like, "I'm starving." And I took the cookie and I ate it. I ate it on the way to Parliament. And I didn't realize he said it was an edible. And I ate the whole thing. And I got to Parliament and I was tripping balls. I saw all the answers to everything. I knew how to create world peace. I don't drink and I don't do drugs. But
or if you're creating world peace when you do, maybe you should, brother.
Yeah, what I wanted to say from that was the people who looked after me that day, the police, everyone suddenly became just people. It's not about uniforms. It's not about jurisdiction. None of that crap matters. And we keep forgetting and we keep giving away our power every single day. And what the QMS system is all about is taking back our power as sovereign human beings. And I talk to people about QMS in the most simple way. And I say it like, Graham, do you trust the government? If someone says no, I'm like, there's a system we can put in place rather than having politicians taking all your money. We can have a referendum-based system. We can set up terms of reference. So we have a terms of reference in education, science, whatever we have to have it in. And then we vote on those terms of reference. And once they get voted in, they stay in. If the people don't like it, they vote it out and vote something else in. And on top of on top of that, we work on tribal law. So we work no, I can't do it. I want to do it so bad, but I can't do it.
You're all right, brother. You'll have to get you some quinine and multivitamins if you like, mate. So
I'm fine. This is the end of it. I'm actually feeling great. It's just a cough, but I'll be up and about in the next couple of days.
Look, I've been crook on and off too, and they'd probably call it COVID if I actually went and get tested, but I'm not getting tested. I think it's more to do with the shedding and the people around me shedding, to be quite honest. And I look.
You're not a poor, Graham.
It's funny. Sorry, mate.
You're not a poor, mate. You shouldn't test positive.
Oh, well, mate, exactly. I don't trust that test. I wouldn't do it anyway. The one way, if everyone wanted to get rid of COVID, just stop going to those test centres and it's gone, isn't it? So we'll have flus back again like we used to have.
I can tell you straight up, this is just the flu. It's exactly the flu. And yet 6 other people that were at the same spot as me all went and did rapid antigen tests and they all tested positive. And I'm like, it's just the flu, dudes. Like, I've had this 2 years ago. I had exactly the same thing.
Why would anyone in our movement get tested? I mean, like, seriously, that worries me that people would even go get the test. You just
they didn't get a PCR test. They just did the one from the chemist. But,
okay, that's different. Yeah, but when you're sick, you just stay home. You get better. Try not to cough on other people. And if you follow basic hygiene stuff, then like you shouldn't.
Same as you do with the flu. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how we do it. It's pretty simple. Like, and this has all been overcomplicated for us. Everything that we have to do is overcomplicated. And now what happens is people see complexity in areas where they're not.
Yeah.
So Dylan's got a jurisdictional point in that with the sovereign agreement that we can make with the tribal people and the national construct, the international construct he's created, there's our law system. We've got a blockchain voting app.
And I can speak now. Can I just tell you, because I remember what I wanted to say. Sorry to interrupt.
You're right, bro.
Someone like, say, Jackie Dundee, I love her to bits. But in a speech today, she loses people because it goes too long. with what Dylan's doing the most amazing thing. I've gone on his website, I've read it, I understand it, but I need to be able to put that across to someone who doesn't get any of that stuff. So if we can come up with some kind of term of reference for what Dylan's doing and something for QMS and tie them together in a short, sharp little spiel, that will turn this all around 100%. I'm doing the video for you as well. I just can't speak at the moment, but it is coming.
I appreciate it, brother. And I look forward to it, actually. It'll be good, I know, when you do it, because I know how eloquent you can be. Look, the simple way I'm seeing it is we need what Dylan's done, because that gives us a jurisdiction and a law system that unhooks us from the UN and gives our country its full national, or our continent, full national sovereignty. Now, we need a system like the QMS to manage the decisions on policy and how we run that country without it getting corrupted again by politicians and a so-called government. We need a system of governance. We need to be self-determining, and we need to design the country so that it is in the best interests of the people. And the only people that can design each area of policy are experts within those fields. We can put up, or fields, we can put up suggestions and ideas, we can, and then they can be built on. And when things are tested and measured and put forward through the experts, it becomes transparent as to why we have it, what we need, how it's done. So we've got all of the pieces we need to the jigsaw puzzle. We've actually got a full solution to bring this country back to the people. We just need the people to engage with it. And I mean, like, Dylan's been doing this a while. I've been talking about the QMS and doing this 12 months. But it can be really disheartening when you go out there and you stand in front of a huge crowd like I did today, and you say, everyone load up the Democracy app and jump in it and vote. And then you get 7 extra people on the voting platform at the end of the day, and you just go, well, what was the point? And all of what I've been doing for 12 months and standing up there and conquering that fear of public speaking and worrying about.
I think what you did today was amazing. And
cheers,
I think that what you just said there, that spiel was actually nearly perfect. Like, if you're tired of the system that we're in, we have a new system that we can put in place, which works on a referendum base using sovereign jurisdiction. As soon as you put that together as a basic sentence and get people questioning, all you need is something simple.
Referendum is the wrong word there.
No, because as soon as people, I disagree. I respectfully disagree. Sorry to cut you off with the no. But I respectfully disagree, because people hear that jargon and tune out.
Yeah,
right?
but if people hear long-winded jargon, they won't even sign up at all.
Okay, but here's the thing, right? if people hear that jargon, right, what they do is they hear the same jargon they've heard before. Referendum, voting system. So it sounds the same as before, and they don't actually understand what they're doing, right? So it's small, it's to the point, but they actually don't understand it, because it just goes over their head. So it needs to actually be in language that is, in my opinion, this is my opinion, but I speak to people all the time, every single day, and in my opinion, it's not that they're, it's not because they're silly or stupid or anything. It's because it's jargonistic, and so they just don't understand it. And it actually, you know what it is? It's meaningless for them.
Yeah.
What does that actually mean to them?
And not only that, Madonna, but when we're communicating to people, we're not just communicating to people straight from our word to their head. It's communicating through the amount of filters that you're trying to get through. So it's finding the right language and way to communicate exactly what everyone's saying, but so a way that, like I said before, so it lands, so it actually gets through to them.
You really need to. I'm going to say this, and I don't mean this. Well, it's going to come out however it's going to come out. You really need the feminine energy in here. You've got to listen to the feminine energy, right? Every time you've just got to hear it from the women that are saying this. That language, right, is very masculine language, and it is not going to break through. And we don't, you know, you don't have to talk about it here. I've talked to you about this, Graham. But if you want to hear, if you want to actually have some language that will work for people, because the reality is that you need to bring people along with you, right? That's what you need. Can't do this without the people. No people, no system. So in order to do that, it needs to be language that they interpret to mean it's meaningful language, which you can actually do. But to say voting, referendum, you know what just happened to me? And I understand it. I just went, not interested. And so that's why, so respectfully, sorry, sorry to cut you off, but I really feel it needs to be said, that it just needs to be said, because I am representing the people that I know, the thousands that I speak to who just wouldn't get it.
I speak to thousands as well, and I get what you're saying as well. And I've been on these meetings pretty much every week saying the same thing. So I totally agree. I think we're actually on the same page. What I'm saying is we just got to split down from the long jargon to something small and then make it something heartfelt. Because if it's not heartfelt, or if it's not connective, then you don't get anyone. Because I do the same as you. I'm a connector. I actually needed to say, Madonna, your music was playing when we were getting shot at in Victoria and everything was against the wall. We had your beautiful music, so you touched a lot of hearts when we were going through really hard times. And I think emotive language can help a lot as well. So I totally agree. And I think we lack that within QMS. And I'm just saying the jargon already is way too long. I'm saying break that down, but then bring in the emotion as well.
So Matt, so you know what you're really great at doing, I think, is getting to the heart, the crux of something, right? And so perfect. So you're great. You've got to the crux of it. So it needs to be heart language, short and succinct. Yeah. Beautiful. We're on the same page. And by the way, thank you very much for mentioning the music.
I swear, it was playing while we were getting shot at the shrine. And it's all I could think of, because we heard your stuff's been played over the last year. It's always been a part of the movement. And I just remember everyone gathering and your music playing, this beautiful music. And I was like, oh my God.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I really appreciate you saying that. And I'm glad that it raises your vibration, because just as an adjunct, it's actually, we do it at the frequency of the human body. You know, John will tell you whatever is 430, the one that's meant to be for us, right? So I get a lot of people, it's absolutely true, with autistic children and people on the Asperger's spectrum who will not listen to anything else but listen to our music. And that's absolutely true. Because
you know what I think would be amazing, like really amazing, Madonna, is if you and Dylan and even Graham had I don't mind sitting in as well, if you had like a round table, you would come up with the wording that would sink into everyone. Like it only needs a tweak, and then we can get this out there to everyone. But
I'd like to invite we've got some great minds in this meeting. I'd like to invite everyone to have a think about how we can package this, how we can word this, and, you know, pop it in to me, email it through the info at the qms.org to us, or, you know, most of you've got my direct number or my direct email address, or you can send it that way. And let's have a look at what's out there, and then we'll get together and have a big discussion around it and see what we can do, because I mean, I don't want to micromanage everything. I shouldn't be doing all of the work at this stage. Penny does a lot. We all do a lot in our different areas, the people who work together on this. But we want everybody to be like who they've got to be, and to bring forth the best of what they can bring forth. Look, I too am a visionary, and I've created a concept, right? And I have a little saying that is, in unity we conquer, right? And that can sound a bit warlike and aggressive, I'm aware, but it's true. In unity we can conquer fear, we can conquer their system. We don't want to destroy their system. We don't want to pull it down. We want to make it redundant, right? So that people look at it and go, well, hang on a minute, we've got this option and we've got this option, and this one actually gives us a voice. This one doesn't. This one actually has integrity. This one doesn't. This one cares about our tribal people and our ancestry and where we came from and why we're here and our right to be here. This one doesn't. All they have is a national sorry day, which is absolutely pathetic, because who are we apologising to and what for? Because I was born here. And the Indigenous tribal people that I've spoken to, they don't want to be, they don't want me apologising for what the mistakes of our ancestors were. They just want us to get along and work together to build a better future for their children and for ours. And as I say, this us and them business that I just used then, I say that in this meeting to bring forth the fact that we're trying to move into a point of unity, but there should be no us and them. We are all together. We're all Australian or from Terra.
Amen, Graham. My housemate picked up on that before when we were talking about the People's Treaty and the tribe. And he's like, what's that about? We're all one tribe.
Exactly.
And I said, yeah, I get that. But
no more boxes,
yes,
no more labels. That's what we should be shouting at the protest. No more boxes, no more labels, things like that. You know, that all has to go. It doesn't matter anymore.
Honestly, guys, there's one problem with all that. There's only one problem with that, and I believe the same thing. We are all equals as humans on this planet, you know. But nations have history that has gone through war and trauma and healing and many things for many generations on this continent. And it's not a matter of how we feel when there's something real there in place. And because what we have is a total fiction, in order to become one, we have to be honoring the divides that exist. And that's how we unite correctly, by honoring that we are unique and different. And there are many significantly different cultural heritages on this continent alone. The difference between Nullama in the Pilbara in West Australia and the Bunyalang here where I am and the Kulin Nation there in Victoria, the differences between those three cultures are phenomenal. Have 65,000 plus, you know, generations of historical reference to go through to understand those differences are in the dreaming stories. It's all there.
I hear you, Dylan, because
700
languages
though on the continent,
and it's the complex issues as well that are there. Like it's the complex generational trauma that's dragged on.
Yeah, look, diversity is great.
As a continent, we can be one.
Diversity is great. Division's not.
One, but as a country, we cannot. As a country, we cannot be one, but as a continent, we can. So this is important, even with the QMS being introduced in the nations, the original nations. Is Madonna, where are you in Brisbane?
I'm in North Queensland, actually. I'm in the north.
In North Queensland, okay. So what nation are you on up there? Do you know?
No, I don't. I don't know what nation I'm on up here.
Okay. Well, see, for the QMS to be in your nation, it would have to suit your nation and be federally designed to fit your nation where you live.
I agree with you.
And the QMS for Kulin would have to be for Kulin as well. So this is the concept where the ability to blend and mix and even create regional unification of nations and things can exist, even if it ended up the same as what the states are. It wouldn't matter as long as it was done with the agreement of the nations individually and how it was presented. And so we do have to honor the fact that these cultures and natures and nations exist. They were not conquered. They weren't even given the right, the respect to have a war declared upon them. They were just invaded and hammered without recognition, which is genocide. And in terms of a chant that we could all chant, we know the truth. We will not be complicit in genocide. There's a chant, and nobody can force you to be complicit in genocide because it is a crime, and you cannot be coerced into committing a crime.
If you've ever fronted a protest, mate, and you try to chant that like I did today, you'll be buggered in about 3 minutes, and you'll mess it. Oh, I'd mess it up anyway. It'd leave me tongue-tied. But you're right. What you're saying is absolutely correct.
Well, it's the fact of the matter. I won't be complicit in genocide, and everything I do is in honor of that. Like I'm openly declared a party to the Treaty Series 1951, which is a United Nations treaty series. So I'm trying to hold them to their protocol by making myself an open party to it, to punish and prevent the crime of genocide and all things relative to genocide under the 5 articles in that treaty. So by holding them to that protocol, I'm applying that same energy. And I will not be complicit. This system will not do a thing against somebody like me. I'm seditious in everything I do every day openly for over 3 years now, just mocking this system and every level of its jurisdiction assumption without a single bit of what's the word I'm looking for? Recourse, from this system. They haven't been able to do a bloody thing. So the truth is that powerful. And when the people start to see that and we start honoring that in everything we do, we're going to have this solution just build so rapidly. The mainstream won't have anything counter in their narrative to stop it from becoming the knowledge of all people. And by annexing the system as it stands, we avoid the chaos in the transition. So we take away what we don't need while we manage to bring everybody up to equal standing and develop all the national governments in their place where they need to be.
I realize
a system of operating as a continent. So I'll stop there and let Michelle step in. She's had her hand up there.
Hey,
Sorry,
Michelle.
guys.
Yeah, I was going to say Michelle works with us too on the in the background on the steering team. Does a lot of running around and bits and pieces for me, along with Magic, like Penny does also. So Michelle, hey, how you doing?
Hi, I was just back to the language thing and coming from it from a more feminine perspective. What Magic and I have been doing is when you're introducing it to people, you ask them what they're passionate about. What do they care about? What changes would they like to see made? And then you tell them they are able to put that forward and make those changes happen. So it actually gets to their heart straight away.
So giving people back their voice and providing a platform for us all to have a say, to bring the best ideas forth, to create on and to recreate and move away from this corporate corruption that we've been dealt and the GovCo situation. And I think that a lot of people out there don't even understand this government's corporation. They'll pay their tax and they'll put their GST number in and the government's GST number down without thinking and realizing that, I just paid a company, a business for something. Look, we're in a really, really amazing time at the moment because what we were saying before, all of the right people are starting to come together. The right discussions are being brought forth. I mean, I had Karen out there today helping me hand out flyers and that at the process, which I really appreciate, Karen. Thank you. And last week I had Magic and Michelle doing it for me at down in Frankston and I'm going to mention this for anybody who's in Victoria. If you'd like to come down to Frankston on a Friday night, there's a social afternoon evening from 4 p.m. on. It's the guy owns the old Frankston Business Hub. His name's Darren. He came into one of our meetings a little while back and he was upset that nobody was doing anything. I had a bit of a chat to him. We've met. I've gone down and spoken on QMS a couple of times. We've had people come in to promote political parties. It's quite funny because once I speak about QMS, people don't want to listen to the political parties anymore. And the speeches I'm giving down there are getting better. So as I get out and present and put things out in front of people, my wording and the way I'm doing it's improving too. And lately, Madonna's given me I was told last night's message and the way I presented that was spot on and really good. And a lot of people Madonna had spies in the crowd, I heard, and they reported back to her. But apparently I managed to sort of nail it last night in the way I presented it pretty well. Unfortunately, Michelle wasn't there to film it for me last night like she did the week before. So I have to get a little bit more organized on that sort of thing. I've got to start doing some lives to talk about what we're doing and to get the message out and to call things out and to explain it properly. And Penny's been on my case about this for ages, as has Magic and Michelle and a few other people. Today, I got over my vanity issues, my public speaking issues all in one. So I think now it's time for me to step up. I never wanted to be famous or a celebrity, but you know what? We can't bring this forth without me taking the responsibility for what I've got to do. And I've said I've always been a bit of a natural born leader and turn around and found people following me going, shoo, go away, leave me alone. I don't want. Well, that can't happen anymore. I've just got to step into the role that I've got to play in this. And again, it's not about ego for me. And it's not just me that's going to lead this forward, right? The people here with me, I've got more leaders in this meeting than we've had in a long time. And it's you guys, it's all of us together as one, unified. We'll step forward and we'll bring this forward together, right? It's not about, and as I said, I can't micromanage. I need people to step up into leadership positions and say, right, I'm the QMS needs this. We've heard people talking about it. We've heard Graham. We've heard the other guys in there talking about it. Let's make it happen, right? Or, gee, I've got a great idea for QMS. Touch base with the steering team. Just run it up the flagpole with us, and then you'll be approved straight away. I can guarantee you, as long as you're not saying, oh, we're going to do something absolutely ridiculous, dangerous, or costly, because we don't have any money. This is grassroots. But this is what we've got to come from. We've got to come from a grassroots point. We've got to come from the people. That's the only way that we will get this country back, is by accepting we're free within ourselves and putting forth that freedom to bring everybody else into, and showing them. We stop the fear porn out there, because the fear porn, what that does is that creates more fear porn. It creates more fear. And fear is the whole problem at the moment. As I've been saying, you've got one side scared of the vaccine, one side scared of the virus, and that's creating a division. Right? We don't want division. We want diversity, but we want unity. Unified diversity is what we're aiming for here. And I'm not saying even unified diversity. We don't even all have to agree. People don't always agree, and things can be different here. That doesn't matter. What matters is that we need to get out from under the boot of this evil corporation that's stealing our money, trying to control our lives, putting an ownership and claim on our own children, and our property and everything. And I mean, people aren't property. People are people. They're a living entity, like any animal, like any creature out there. We're all living entities. We have a right to life. We have a right to self-determination. Nobody's going to tell me what to do. I'm not a robot. I'm not anybody's toy. And it's probably why I'm not married. My ex-wife tried that, and here I am. It's about being self-determining, being strong, doing what you got to do. And you may not feel strong when you start down the path. Believe me, it's taken me a long time to get to where I'm at the moment, and a lot of learning, a lot of pain, hurt, upset, allegations made at me, all sorts of things. But who cares? It's brought me here. And along the way, I've had learning, and I've been able to learn to deal. And the beauty of it is that a lot of what happened in my past gave me a chance now to stand in this present and the recent past and deal with it. And then all the beautiful heart-based people coming out to support and holding me up at the times when I flagged. And when you stand in your truth and you come from the heart, people want to do that for you. That's what I've learned. And it's all about, everything is about the truth. It's about honor. It's about dignity. It's about respect. And what the masses out there, what the one thing that everybody wants out there, and this is something Ed Gilbert and I have spoken about, we're all looking for our point of security. And that's what this is about pretty much for everyone, security. You want to feel safe in the place where you live. You want to, if you self-determine, you want to know you're self-determining correctly, and that comes down to confidence, right? But at the end of the day, it's security we need to address for people, and by providing security back to them and having the clear message that we're trying to create at the moment, and get so that we can present this properly, because really we're at a marketing point. We've got to get the word out, and the quicker we get this happening, the quicker we get this happening, the quicker we can actually get into a position where we can change that. Yeah, that was interesting. Hello, whoever that was. Anyway, yeah, the quicker we can get this happening, the quicker we will actually get free. So we could have just turned our backs on all this from the beginning and walked away. And if enough people had done it, it wouldn't have happened. So it's... it looks like we got a couple of trolls in.
Just ignore it, guys.
You want to take care of that?
I'll get
Yeah,
rid of it.
that's interesting. There's some interesting people out there with serious mental issues, isn't there?
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
honestly, but it's quite. And look, what are we doing that's actually harming anyone? Really? So why would they bother? Anyway, who cares? That's
the masters have told them to come disrupt, because they're just good little bitches doing as they do.
Look,
No energy. Don't spare any energy on it. Just keep doing
funny.
what you're doing,
It's
Graham.
actually, I find it a little bit amusing that they'd bother, to be quite honest. But anyway, that's okay. I'll laugh about it later when I read through the text. But at the end of the day, look, we're doing the right thing, obviously, or we wouldn't be here. And I mean, when I say that, we're all doing the right thing. We're all pulling in the one direction. We all want to unify. We all want a solution. And that's what it's now about, providing a solution that gives security, that has integrity, and that is a voice back to the people. So we're giving them their voice back, right? So that's what we've got to tell people. We've got a way that you can get your voice back that has integrity, honor, and is secure. And it's going to bring, you're on mute, Madonna, I can see you talking there. So do you want to, sorry, I'll unmute you or ask you to unmute.
That's your message.
Okay,
That's
well
your
then
message.
the next
Someone write
question,
this down. That is your message.
luckily I'm recording, so we can,
Oh,
yeah.
hey, that's your message. That's it.
Okay,
Right?
so that's the story. We're trying to give the people back their voice in a safe and secure way. And look, the security will come into it also in their lives back. They can get their jobs back. They can get things back under our system once the system's implemented. The quicker we get the will of the people away from GovCo and into what we're doing, we're there, really. And it's that simple. And everyone goes, how are you going to do that? Well, Tim came up with an idea a while back. Tim's wife suggested we'll go out and tell 5 people and invite them to join, blah, blah, blah. And you know what? I know a lot of people in here have done that, and I do it constantly, and it feels like a big task. But the trick is convincing them to go invite 5 more, and then get them to convince the next lot to invite 5 more. So it's a self-perpetuating. But as I've said, that leaves us 8 to 10 days away from complete freedom. And that's to get everyone in the country. That's not just to get half of them, right? It's really, really quick if we get the word out there. Networking is always the best form of marketing. And I know that from having run businesses. I ran marketing campaigns for years and wasted thousands of dollars on them to get nowhere. And then I went and joined this business networking group. And I won't give it a plug here at the moment, but if anyone wants to know a really good way to get out amongst people, it's a corporate thing, but if you want to know, I'm happy to share it. And it is a good way to build your business. And it teaches you how to network. So that's what this is about. We're networking. We're bringing the heart-based people together. We're bringing the right solutions together. And the message is getting clearer, and and we're getting stronger in every step we take. So,
can I just interrupt?
Sure, Pen.
Can you go through the democracy app? Because today I ran the rally here, and we had 1,000 people in our sleepy little town here. It went really well, and I did do a live vote. But not many people went in there. They had trouble getting in. So can you show us what is the point? How can we get there faster? And how many votes do we need to get attention? And how does that attention happen? Does it get presented to the attorney?
Well, I think Dylan actually answered that a little bit earlier with the numbers that he mentioned. And look, we've actually been having trouble finding what the exact numbers are. We've had everything from 10% through to 62.5% put forth, right? And there's nothing on the internet we can find. There's no government site that tells you. They probably don't want us to know. I'd say it's 51% of the voting age population to.
No, it's 4.3.
Sorry,
it's
mate.
It's 4.3 to 5% historically has created peaceful revolution inside nations that have had peaceful revolution. And that was in a TED talk. This woman explains it. She goes, she done all the research. She explains it that when revolutions occur, if 4.3 to 5% of a population is agreed in the direction they are moving, it brings the 95% with them every time, because the alternative is visual. And once the alternative is visual, it creates the momentum necessary to bring everybody along with it. Now, if we annex the system and move forward, producing accountability. Now, this is the big thing when everything you were talking to about before, saying when you introduce people to the concept, you ask them, what is it that's relevant to you? What is it that you want from the system, essentially? What is it that it is upsetting you? What's your gripe against this system? We're asking people, what is their will, essentially, right? Because we have a system that is designed to interfere in our lives. So we feel as though we have to be present with so much in that system. That's one of our biggest problems. We don't have any accountability, and we have too much intervention by our system. Yeah. So if we have a system that produces accountability, then therefore we don't feel so threatened, because accountability is guaranteed. Then we have security. Now, accountability comes from security. Other way around. Security comes from accountability. Without accountability, we can't be secure, because we're never capable of putting behind bars or creating that punishment for those who deserve it And still, we're not united about how we wish to proceed in that sense.
Well,
The
accountability
original
comes from
nations
integrity
have
and honour.
law right.
Sorry,
It
mate.
comes from the law, though. The law is the most important part in this whole discussion. And what we foresee as law, like what we pretend is law, is just not legitimate. So by not being complicit in genocide, we're not allowing the law to have jurisdiction over us. And because we're acknowledging the genocide of the original nations, we're applying the jurisdiction where it should be with the original nations. And we are free in that exact moment. You see, the system's courts will never see you in front of their judge saying, well, sorry, I can't give you any authority because that would be complicity in genocide and you can't prove any different. And I will not commit a crime knowingly. Then what's that court going to do? It can't do a damn thing, right? So you're already free. And you're free to live by the law of the land. The law of the land is do no harm. And the tribal laws are very non-invasive. So you're free to do as you choose. Now, if society can operate under that construct and honor that truth in law, then we're free to make our way forward, self-determining consistently without anything in our way. And that's what will bring people across. So we don't want to have two systems running at the same time ever. We want to put a rope around the one that's there and dismantle it of everything we don't need. And so transition smoothly away from this bullshit into something legitimate. And the very first thing would be you won't have a mortgage. It's gone. Because no title exists, no contract exists between a bank and a person to own a piece of land. What you do have now is a house that you live in, and you might have the ownership to a house, but you don't own the land, you just own the house. So you can still sell the property and move on and keep the economy flowing through real estate without feeling as though you've given anything up. It's just the title and the assumption that you own the piece of land is gone. The nation owns it. The nation always will own it. The title belongs to that nation. So, and that's the system that we need to develop. That will progress smoothly. So nobody loses anything except those that are criminally culpable for the worst of crimes against humanity. And so they bloody well should. Now, everything we take from them, we put into the international body of law to distribute equitably across the nation's law systems while they become self-determining and the fundamental law constructs for each nation. Because that has to be done. The Bora court systems have to be built. They have to be encouraged to be built. The nations need to be educated in their own ways again and given more respect by the rest of us to encourage that unification and the creation of these localized national governments. And that process could take 15 to 20 years. We need the security to be able to get that done.
Sorry, there's some common law structures out there. Could they be transitioned into the Bora courts?
Well, the problem with common law as it stands is it comes from a foreign shore and it operates on the precedent of case law. And the case law precedent in terms of the English setting up a nation on another people's lands and forming an independent nation is that of treaty, as it was with Waitangi in New Zealand, as it was with the 11 treaties in Canada and the treaties with the Native Americans in the formation of the American Constitution, which most people don't even know was modeled off the Iroquois Confederacy, which gave rights to the birth of the US Constitution. So that's the legitimate way. And under common law, that would be the precedent for how you build a country separate from Britain. Okay. So if you build a Commonwealth nation on behalf of Britain, you do it the way they did it in Canada, which was 11 treaties with the 11 nations through Quebec and Canada, through that territory. So these are the precedents. So common law, by not following precedent, has forfeited its right to have any jurisdiction on this continent. So it's not applicable. And so the whole constructs of common law is just empowering a fiction here. And if you empower one fiction, then you empower another fiction in the process, because each of them exists with the fact that you're living in a realm of fiction and not something real.
Absolutely.
So for me, for instance, I'm very free. I don't feel threatened by this at all because my knowledge of it will protect me, and the court can't do anything. And they put a bullet in my head, it just, proves a point. So no, I don't envisage myself as any kind of leadership, but I do want to lead by example in the sense that anything I know that I can offer that will help others come to that same standing. That's how I intend to lead, by example in that sense. There is no way for me to be in charge of this that makes it work any better, because the only way it works is by empowering everybody into equal standing. And,
May I
that's
just
why it's
say,
the
mate,
People's Treaty.
you are a leader.
It's the people.
You're a true leader, my friend, because a true leader walks the path, and those that see that leader walking the path and choose to follow, right? So you are a leader because I've watched you walking your path, and I can see you stand in your truth and your honor. So, mate, you're exactly the exact definition of a leader. You would do this on your own if nobody followed you, and that's what a true leader does.
Yeah, well, it's not the intention for me to be seen like that. It's just the information is available. You know, it came to me for free, and I share it for free, and it's just truth. And it's just I've put it together. I've conceptualized a few things. I've put it together in a way that can provide us with an outcome. And I do believe that something similar, if not exactly along these lines, will provide an outcome. So that's what I intend to share. In terms of my leadership, that's all that is. But I'm glad people now, and I'm really honored to have helped in any way, to have brought people to this conversation.
Hey, we need leaders to take us to the right place. When we get there, that's when we can use the system to build by the people.
We've all got it, but what Dylan's getting at and what I'm
we're
getting
doing
at
that. We're going to Canberra, and this protocol that I've just put together, we'll be going out to every nation, and we will be talking about it as a massive community of nations. And there is things that I won't talk about in here tonight that are also going to happen that I've heard about, that to do with upcoming events in Canberra around the original nations that are important, and everybody understanding why this has to happen. Big displays of our jurisdiction as in unity, being capable of creating accountability. So we'll see the arrests of those people at the very top with the support of international militaries, because that's the protocol we've established in our self-determination. So as we progress forward, we will be teaching people about the truth, because it's going to be very confronting for them. But we'll do it in a way that doesn't provide chaos. It provides rights and protections and security, because that's what we're here to do. We're not here to take it over and pull in a new regime. We're here to put in place what should be correctly in place, and honor the truth and the trauma, and heal this continent once and for all. So, you know, like Zelenak said today, for 1,000 generations to come, because the foundations of what we create in this very moment will either determine whether the future generations have the ability to protect their own futures and their own life with the same constructs we provide now as a foundation for their future. If we don't do that in the decisions we make, and we think selfishly about only ourselves and protecting ourselves, then we will fail to protect the future, and it will fail in its energy won't withstand what life's about. You know, the balance of things, it will be the end of humanity. So everything at the moment is basically pointing to an end towards humanity. So it's either we create something that provides a future for humanity, or we just let them win one way or another, because we refuse to actually be responsible in our own part in this, and we let them take the lead. Now, I'm going to shut up after this for good, because I've got to get going in a little while. But I just want to say to the women in here about the feminine, the divine feminine. Now, I have a different take on how that all could be relevant in all of this, that I believe is the correct way to be looking at it. Now, the old laws come from the matriarch. Matriarch being the natural way of things. So the matriarch is the divine feminine, being the creation. Now, the creation spirit, like, this is how you can tell. For starters, masculine energy isn't very likely to leave itself vulnerable. So the idea of life having infancy is definitely not a masculine formation in the creation. That's a feminine one. The need to nurture before manhood. So the man doesn't come first. The man comes after being nurtured by the mother through the creation period. Creating the man requires the mother's nurturing. So this is like a basic foundation of life. It goes down to the seed for the tree and everything, you know, and everything has to grow before it reaches its masculine, you know, masculine being that highly evolved, high energy, no nonsense sort of level of intensity in our energies, you know. The feminine is the creation of that coming to be. So I believe by honouring the original nations, we're actually honouring the truth about the matriarchal law and the constructs of creation law, and bringing forth the divine feminine into that age of Aquarius and the very well-known divine feminine realm of existence that's meant to come in, out with the masculine and in with the feminine. It's meant to be a prophesized part of our future. So if it all fits, by doing this the correct way and following the truth on this continent and honoring the truth in everything, it actually provides that divine feminine outcome and the feminine energy that you talk of. Probably a lot of it is that we speak in English, and English is a very masculine language because it comes from a masculine realm of law and language, you know. So we are transitioning away from English on this continent as a part of this. It will be something that future generations speak more of the native languages and pidgin language, and English would be a translation written like Latin is today to us. So that's where we want to bring people to. So that's the future we're talking about. Providing the right language, speaking to the land, speak like Zelenak talks about. It talks about speaking to the country and having the country understand what you're saying, because the connection's there from thousands and thousands of generations of DNA and molecular life on the continent here connected to it. So the languages take their place and bring us all to that connection, and we ascend as humanity to a place of understanding and real unique. You know, the real uniqueness of us all as individuals can be honored, respected, and protected by one another. You know, it's pretty simple stuff.
Yeah.
So
appreciate it, brother, as always. Well put, and thank you very much. Love having you in my meetings, or in our meetings, I should say. That, you know, you always explain things so eloquently, and your understanding of the law actually outstrips many people's that I've spoken to. So I really appreciate you coming in, mate. Look, we've got quite a few leaders in here tonight in their own right, and
it's my pleasure, and thank you everyone for coming on.
Cheers, brother. And yeah, Dylan and I speak pretty regularly these days. Dylan's like in many ways, he's probably a younger, smarter version of myself. So he's lucky enough to be 13 years younger than me, and to have come to some of these conclusions a little bit earlier within his life. But we all take our different paths, and we all have our different expertise and experiences and that sort of thing. And that's what's brought us all to this point. So what Dylan said earlier on too about the 5%, if that's the figure, well, we can do that within our movement alone. We had 1.8 at the rallies last week, if 1.8 mil. So if we had 1.8 mil last week, that's actually 10% of the voting age population within the country. So in that case, we probably need about 9.
We're there. We're already there. We just need to be on the same path. And that's, like I said, because the conversation can't be denied by the media, the mainstream will take us from 5% to 100% in no time, because we are united. And if we're united on the same path, we're moving forward. Forward movement is what brings others with. And
so if that's the case,
it's unstoppable. So we're
900,000 is the number we need on the Democracy app. When we get 900,000 votes in the Democracy app to replace the old system, in answer to the earlier question, that's the number. Okay, so we can do that. We've just got to get out there and promote it. And to get 900,000 people, probably five times you go out and tell 5 people, and we'll get there very quick, right? So it would happen very quick if we could get everyone in this Zoom meeting and everyone to come together and go tell 5. It starts with one person telling 5. They tell 5, you've got 25. They tell 5, you've got 125. They tell 5, you've got 500 and 620, or whatever the figures may be. I'm not going to do all sums right away, but it grows pretty exponentially. And by the time you get down to 7 or 8, you're actually up in the multiple millions. So that's what we need to do, is keep networking, keep getting the word out, keep bringing the people to the concept. Now, we've also been talking to people lately too, and I'll just throw this in before the end, around creating hospital systems around the states and things like that for people who are concerned. So we may not need them if we can bring the numbers in. We may not need a lot of things if we can bring the numbers in, because we are playing a numbers game. At the end of the day, that's what it is. So we can do this pretty quickly and easily. And at the same time, we're talking about setting up alternate systems anyway to protect ourselves and keep things going, because it's about security for us as well as everyone else. So, and we know what the wider picture's been out there and what they're trying to do. And it's not just genocide of the Indigenous nations. This is worldwide genocide of all people. So we need the alternate systems. If we're going to be locked out of systems, they're going to create medical apartheids and things like that. Then we create our own so that they cannot. Okay. And we don't behave like them. Anybody, we should invite anybody in, regardless of their status. It should be a case of we are people, we protect each other, we love and respect each other. And something that a lot of people don't realize, that 5% we mentioned before, do you know the American Revolution on both sides of the war was made up of a total of 5% of the American population, while 95% sat it out, right? So most people will sit it out and await a result. We're not those people. And I thank every single one of you for being here and looking for the solution and being part of the solution, because by being here, by getting involved, by engaging, by telling your friends, by voting in the app, you're part of the solution to what will change history from where we're at to where we should be and where we will go. So please go out there, even if it's, you don't even have to show everybody everything at the moment. We can bring them into that gently. Show them the Democracy app at the moment and encourage them to vote and remove their will. Now, they're going to see People's Treaty and the QMS mentioned in the Democracy app. So that's going to take them on that next pathway. And if they want to investigate it and all that sort of thing, that's great. But at least they're admitting they don't trust the current Westminster two-party system. And that's what we're trying to get out from under the boot of. Mind you, I don't think any political platform that requires people, money, and a perception of power is not going to become corrupt, because it will. In every case, it happens in business, it happens everywhere. A lot of the time they say the shit floats to the top, and excuse me for swearing, but it does, right? So, and when you're in those positions of power, people will come to you trying to bribe you. I've had it happen since I've been working on the QMS to me. And I can tell you now, as I said to someone today, if someone walked in and said, I'll give you $10 billion to walk away from the QMS, you know what, I would. And I go with plan B, which is I'd hire a mercenary army and come back and give the country back to you that way. And I could probably do it pretty quick. But what we've got to do is do this peacefully and lawfully. And that's what we're trying to create. That's what Dylan's created. He's created a lawful construct. I've created a blockchain voting app where we can feel safe in having our say and getting our policies out and voting on policy, not people or parties. And that's what we've got to do, is start letting people know it's all there and start working together to get the word out and to build the engagement in what we're building. So again, I want to thank everyone. Is there any last minute questions before we close the meeting tonight? I'd also like to say, look, thank you to all my co-hosts, the people who came in tonight, to Matt, to Madonna, Penny, of course, who's with me every week, to Ryan, to Dylan, Madhu. Gee, I might as well just read the names on here, because there's that many of you that have been helping out and been around things. And, you know, to Karen, who's been helping me today, Michelle, who's been a friend of mine for a while and helps me with things. Magic, who I don't know if she made it in tonight, but Magic has been a really staunch supporter of the QMS. If anybody wants a shirt, I will have them at Frankston. Magic's got a few left over. So Magic gets her money back. We're charging $35 for a t-shirt at the moment. So if anybody wants one, I have them at the Frankston gig when I go there at the Business Hub. And I have them when I go to the rallies. So if you let me know, I can always put a couple on board, or I can bring them with me and meet you there and make sure the money gets back to Magic. And look, we don't want to profit on, we just want to give Magic the money back that she spent on getting all these amazing t-shirts printed, and she's just handing them out left, right and center. She's not working at the moment, can't really afford to do that. So I just want to make sure that she's covered. Now, Penny's got a really big heart and tries to fundraise and help people and that sort of thing. She did that for me and Rick Posey this week. and it backfired and gave her a bit of a bite. And this is why I've always said, like, I got to stand on my own 2 feet, and I appreciate everyone who contributed. I absolutely love you guys to death. But yeah, we have to maintain the integrity of the system, and that's why if I get kicked out of my home, if I go bankrupt, whatever happens, it doesn't matter, right? It's about the system. And look, I'm sure there's heart-based people that'll pick up the pieces around me, give me somewhere to stay, and you know, I've had one of Penny's friends dropping food around occasionally and things like that, which I do appreciate. But I'm not desperate, right? I'm not, and I don't want to be a charity case. So as much as I love that people help and do things like that, do them for other people who are in real desperate trouble. Because there's a guy I saw the other day out on the street, and I mean, Penny, you're fundraising for me. I gave away about $60 to a guy in a wheelchair on the street because he told me he's completely homeless. He's sitting out in front of the rally at Parliament House. And I'm not telling you this for, to make myself look good. I'm just telling you because, look, what's important to me is connecting with people and saving my son and protecting this. And I've made my own choices in this. So the path in my own personal life that it takes me down is mine and mine alone to choose and to deal with. But I really have to make sure that during this whole process, the QMS maintains its integrity. Mine can be destroyed, but it has to remain because people need to feel safe and secure within the system when they enter it. So that's a big reason why I've pushed back when people come and say, let's monetize it, let's do this, let's do that. Look, money's not everything, and it happens to be the root of all evil. And yes, it is it's an exchange of goods. It's an exchange of energy. I understand. And I've been pushing back at things like Penny saying, I'll help you. And that what I'm actually doing is I'm manifesting money away from myself by pushing back. Right. So I've just got to stop pushing.
I think we would all wanted to help. A lot of us here want a donate button because it costs money, for example, to keep a website running, right, to have a Zoom account, for all these things. And everyone's struggling, and this is the time to be humble and just accept help sometimes. And I don't think anyone minds that. Like I don't think anyone would even mind $5 membership.
No, look, I think it's a wonderful thing, but like honestly, there's people far more needy than me. I've still got a roof above my head. I've still got clothes to wear. I've got a car to drive. I'm not doing, I'm not out on the street. So I just wanted to put that in that, Penny's heart-based. She didn't do it for any ulterior motives. And
we knew the attacks were going to come for that. So I was prepared for that anyway. So it's all good.
Yeah, I know. But I just don't like seeing the people working with me coming under attack for trying to help me. And like, I get it. Thank you. But I'll be okay. I trust in the universe. I have faith that everything's going to come out the way it needs to come out. And if I'm not meant to be here, they'll kick me out. So what? Right. So that's just what it is. I'll find somewhere. Like, yeah, as has happened with the QMS and bringing it forth. When you trust in the universe, when you trust in that there's a greater being out there than yourself, that there is a plan to what you're doing, it works. It's when you stop trusting in yourself, stop trusting in those things, that's when you get into trouble. And that the more I go, the further I go down this path I've been on, the more I just wanted to say that. So, and that's not, I'm not admonishing or doing anything here. What I'm actually suggesting, guys, is that look at this from your own point of view and manifest into your life and create what you want to create. All right. So go out there, be the best version of yourself, tell the truth, live in your truth, and just whatever you believe will and what you desire can be brought forth. We've got a platform. We've got beautiful people joining up. We've got all these incredibly intelligent minds and this amazing amount of good energy pouring in, which is something GovCo can't say that they've got. All right. So they have to lie and cheat and have election fraud and things like that to make themselves look good. And they've got to create panic and fear. We don't want to do that. We're creating love and hope and a place where people can come to be secure.
Can I just say something before everyone goes off? Sorry.
Of course.
People slowly leaving. This Wednesday night, I'm running a kids with parents support Zoom meeting. Okay, we've been talking about this for a while, but I've got some really good professional people on board to come and help that know how to speak the language of the children so that the children learn how to say no and why. Okay, so they're going to have a list to print out as well to put in their school bag. A lot of pressure is approaching to a lot of the schools. We all know now consent is just attending school. Okay. So we're going to run a Zoom 7 o'clock, I think, Wednesday night.
Yeah, just attending school is not consent as far as I'm concerned, when they can fine you for not having your child at school if you're not homeschooling. So that is not consent, that is coercion. And Dan Andrews can say what he likes. He touches my kid, he and I'll meet personally. Right. And I mean that. Yeah, I'm not a violent man, but that could make me one. So anyway, listen.
I'm not homeschooling, Graham. My son, I took him out in June. I'm not homeschooling. He's just free. He's a little sovereign man. They can stick it up their ass. They got no jurisdiction on this continent. They're not getting any over my son. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, at the end of the day, I want my son's in school, not because of the education. He's there because he needs to learn to socialize. He's never really had any friends before. So I'm trying to help him with that. So that's the difference in that. And that is the place where all the kids are going to be around his age. And that's where he needs to be at the moment. So, but if they try to jab him or do anything in that school, Ed Gilbert's kids go to that school too. So Ed and I are going to team up and have a little chat to that school. And I tell you what, Ed is an ex-policeman and an Irishman. He can be pretty imposing when he puts his foot down. And he like, I'm a little bit too diplomatic. Ed's probably a little bit less when it comes to dealing with those sorts of things. So, but yeah. Anyway, guys, I'm going to close the meeting down. Thank you again. It's been a really good night. I've actually really enjoyed this meeting. A lot of really brilliant and beautiful people came in tonight. It was a really heart-based meeting, which is what we need. And I think tonight we've narrowed down on what the message needs to be to get this out. So, and the number. I mean, so there's a couple of things we've really achieved really well. So 900,000, and thanks GovCo. So let's work together. And thank you again for all coming. Love you all heaps. And we'll see some of you. I'm not sure if we're running this next week. That's a little discussion we're going to have too.
Could be Sunday.
We're looking at a date change. So that's why you won't see it in the events at the moment, but we will get it out to everyone. And yeah, we'll let you all know as soon as a couple of those final decisions. It's just there's a lot going on for everyone at the moment, and with all the protests. I'm meant to be going to Ballarat next week and speaking, and this time they'll give me 10 minutes, and Ed won't have to just push me in and sneak me in there as he did today. But yeah, we get everyone onto the Democracy app, and it's in our downloads page. If you can't find it, you can get it from your app store. Democracy app. Yes, you have to sign up. I think you might have to
There's
get
a little bit of a problem, Graham.
What's happening
with the registration? So can you have a look at that, please?
On the Democracy app, we'll have to get onto Joseph if that's the case. So yeah, but yeah, we'll get onto that straight away. What was the issue with registration that you're aware of, just quickly?
Someone just texted me then. They said they're having trouble registering. I'm not sure.
Okay. All right. Well, we need to get someone to try it and work out what's going on. It's got a little bit savvy.
There's a few other ones with the same name. So it's a purple logo.
Yeah, it's like, I think it's like a bird with a fire coming out of white things, purple and white. So we'll start to get some branding up on the website around that to show it so people can see more about it, what it's like. But you can go to it through our downloads page and download it from then. And if you do have trouble setting up the account, let us know to it at info@theqms.org, and we will approach. You can also do it from the app. It will go back to them too. But if that is the case, then we'll get onto that pretty quickly, because that could be why we only got the seven more votes on the app today too. So it may not be that people didn't take up. So, but yeah, if everybody's already not on it, please jump on it and register yourself, register your vote, show that you want to take your will out of their system, and let's get this moving. And later on, if you want, join the website or have a look around the website if you haven't already, join People's Treaty, have a look at that, and we'll get sovereignty in soon for everyone to have a look at as well. So as a system of basically making sure that our officials who are in offices, whatever office they may occupy, and I'm not talking political officers. I don't want politicians. I don't, this is, to me, public service officers, to make sure they're vetted properly and they're ready to roll. And honestly, we don't need leaders in government. We don't need to be governed. We don't need to be told how to live. We just need good leaders to step up in each area of policy, bring it forth, put it before the people transparently, and educate them along the way, and let the people decide. And whether it's within an area or nationwide or across a state or however it is, we've got the app that can do it, because what we've got is incredibly flexible. It can even go right down to a postcode area, and we can set things in place for just a street area as well. So we can do this.
The sound of that, it means you can divide it into the nations easily enough and still operate as a continent with the same construct. That's all we need, something that can do that clearly and definitively and respectfully, and it's all a winner.
Yeah,
thank
absolutely.
you everyone for having me on tonight and for been listening and contemplating what we're all about. And it's so exciting that we are moving together, and these big numbers of people looking for solutions, we're creating them, and we're not asking questions, we're not asking permission, we're respecting where the real law is, and we're working within the boundaries of what is legitimate and what is protectable within the constructs that exist around the planet now, in keeping with international protocol as it stands, but never under it. You see, this is where we separate, we self-determine.
The only thing I would ever be under is standing next to Ryan. I would be under his armpit, because that man is incredibly tall. But yeah, hey.
Ryan, brother, I want to catch up with you for that yarn. I missed you the other day, brother, but you're doing an amazing job. You're doing fantastically in front of the camera. You're so comfortable now, and it's a pleasure always watching you. It really is. Thank you, on, brother.
It's all good, mate. I'm trying. I got to catch up and have a yarn with you, and just touch on a few subjects. I got to catch up with Graham as well. Graham's only just down the road from my workshop, so I found out last week. So yeah, I got a fair bit of learning to do, and I might even jump on Facey shortly and just do a quick little live, and I've got some shit going on in my head. I just want to put out there, and it's fucking awesome. It's absolutely awesome. It's a pleasure and a privilege, like I said.
You're doing an amazing job at the moment, brother. And yeah, 6'8", your presence must be truly visible.
Yeah, very much so.
Yep.
I'm really 6'2", and I look like a yowie.
That's all right. I had the cut and shut the other day. I was told I've got a well dressed and all that besides Elenac, and so
I'm going to have to spike my hair up to get anywhere near close to both of you, because I'm only 5'9.5".
Yeah.
All right, guys. Listen, love your work, and thank you everyone for coming in again. So much love to all, and let's just make this happen. I will put this video out later on. It usually takes me overnight to get it to download, and then to cut, top and tail it and put it on the website. And so I'll have that out hopefully by tomorrow afternoon. And yeah, feel free to share it. I actually think this was probably one of our best meetings yet, to be honest. And we've really managed to get Dylan's constructs out there in front of the people, as well as a pretty good idea about what we're building too. So this might be a really good video to invite those that aren't sure to come and have a look at, so that they can see who's involved, what we're doing and how we're doing it. Because I know Dylan's very humble. Ryan, mate, we don't know each other well yet, but the conversations we've had, I'm looking forward to working further with you. Having Penn and, Michelle and Magic and all the other people around me, and now having Madonna come on board. And Tim still works with us as well. He just hasn't been able to come in for a while. And we talk to everyone. So I was talking to Rick Bosey this week, and he loves what we're doing too. So I keep inviting the politicians to drop politics and come on board and throw their weight in behind what we're doing. A little bit of a laugh for you all. I just said to Rick, since he mentioned that he was living on rice and onions, that maybe Penny should send him up a food pack, because I think his poor wife will be suffering from the excess wind that he's probably passing around the house. So I'd like to sort of help him if we can.
Pleasant change coming from his ass instead of his mouth.
Rick laughed for about 5 minutes when I told him that. He killed himself laughing. I said, your poor wife, mate. Oh my goodness. We'll send you a food pack. She must really be suffering. So anyway, guys, again, we also spoke to Rod Cullerton and Michael O'Neill this week too, and they're still Rod's sticking to constitutional side of things, but Michael's going to have his executive call us very soon, and I'm not sure whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, or whether how far we can get them to engage. But I invite all politicians.
Rod was clear with me, man. Rod was clear with me. He swore an oath to that constitution, and he's going to defend it at all costs.
And
Who was that?
Michael O'Neill's working with Rod Cullerton.
Yeah. Well, look, I put the same call out to all politicians. Save yourself the treason trial, save yourself the complicity in genocide, and come and throw your weight and people and your resources in behind what we're doing. Because I can only see one right way forward at this point in time. And until a better construct comes out, guys, this isn't a warning. This is an offering, a peace offering for down the track. And again, to all those lawyers out there, come and work with us and get in under our constructs and help us design what's got to be done and do what's got to be done. Because when this system falls apart, and it will, you can already see it's doing it, people will, the public that's out there will start calling for these trials. And when these trials come, if you're complicit of international genocide or treason towards this country, or in any way you've caused any harm or damage to this continent or country or people in any way, the people will want to hold you responsible. So we invite you all to come in now while the time is good, and we're basically offering the olive branch. Come and talk, come and join us, and let's get moving forward. And again, that's not a threat from me. I just know which way it's going to go once we're up and going. So I'm just letting you know that, all consequences have a reaction attached to them. So come and join us, let's get this moving. It's about bringing the people together. It's about unity, and it's about getting the word out and throwing everything we've got in together to make this work. Because otherwise we're dead in the water and we lose everything. And I'm not letting that happen.
No, it can't happen, bro. You're dead right. And look, those politicians and those wannabe politicians, they've got an opportunity to do the right thing and redeem in a big way by bringing their support to the point of these election processes, and then just denouncing the entire system publicly, and just say it cannot be party to an election process on this continent, because that would be complicity in genocide, and I will not commit a crime knowingly, and you cannot make me. And that's the sort of thing that we need people like. And look, I spoke to Bosie last year, and there's a recording of an interview I did with him, and he understood all this then, and didn't want to talk about it, and wanted to stay on the basis that he could reform the constitution under the
look, Rod Collerton wanted Ed and I to come and become politicians and to use that to bring forth the QMS, right? They've all got that. But look, this isn't about them being bad people. And that's what I'm trying to put the word out to them. It's not about, they're heart-based people. They're trying to do what they believe is right, but they're doing it the wrong way. And there's only one right way. And that's what we're trying to show everyone and bring forth. And all the common law people and constitutional people out there that want to argue the point with me, don't bother. I'll put you on to Dig and he'll sort you right out. Okay. So
quite simply, if you continue to assume jurisdiction on this continent, or apply any energy towards getting into a position to assume jurisdiction on this continent, then you are complicit in genocide with the information that you've already learned from people like myself and others that are defending the truth. And by ignoring that truth and continuing down that path, that is complicity. You're guilty of it. You're guilty of it already. So when the trials happen, they're going to be very short trials, because your guilt is already obvious. So your actions from now before those trials happen is when you can redeem. Your best chance of redemption is right now. So if you want to come across and help the people, then stand in truth with the original nations under their instruction. All right. And
look, and Dylan and I have been down this path before. Dylan's accused me of complicity to international genocide. But one thing I've never tried to say this as jurisdiction. We want to be able to place it on jurisdiction. I first thought that was the will of the people. I now understand it's under the sovereign nations, combined with the will of the people. It's basically everyone's got to come together to make this work. So
absolutely,
it's old way, new way.
The will of the people. The will of the people is protected under a national sovereignty, and that's
exactly
how a nation is granted the right to run its system for the will of its people. So the nation has the protection in its very existence, and that's defined in international agreements and international boundaries and international affairs. And that's quite simple. That's a very definitive situation where each nation has the right to produce law that protects the people, the will of the people.
We've got to do things the right way. It doesn't matter whether it's legal. If it's not right, it ain't legal in my book. And like, yeah,
The word legal isn't even lawful on this continent. So the word legal is irrelevant in everything. So it's not even a lawful word. Legislation, legalese, or it's all attached to foreign language and law that doesn't have any right here. So, you know, it's very empowering to learn the truth there, because you don't have to be trapped in these constructs of language and law. They're like the claims that your straw man is you know, you can't write your name a certain way, you can't use your name. That's all irrelevant garbage. You can use your name. Your parents gave you that name, and they don't have any hold on it. They just tell you they have a hold on it based on a language trap that you believe is real, and give it authority that it doesn't actually have. It's the same with your birth certificate and the Holy See's claim to jurisdiction over you when you're born. That's not legitimate. They were never legitimately welcomed onto this continent to have the say in that. There's no contract. There's no law. So we're very free already. We just got to honor the truth, and
we're free.
got to live it. Got to unlock that and live it. And like I say, there's one vaccine passport I use. You know, it's like.
Well, I wasn't accusing you. I was just informing you that what if for the QMS to make the assumption would be complicity in genocide.
I know. No, well, it's an assumption we weren't making. It was one we were trying to establish under the will of the people. So at that stage, but
it was actually somebody else who made the assumption on your behalf, on behalf of the QMS. So
there are a lot of statements made on behalf of the QMS back then that we've since sort of backed away from. So we now have a much better, and look, I'm still learning. There's still things to learn out there, you know, and everybody is. So these people that are making these mistakes now, right, they've done it through whatever reasons, and they haven't known they're making them. So I get where they're coming from. I get where we're coming from, and I get where Digi's coming from with it as well. But look, it's out there, right? Come and join us, and you know, by doing so and working in the right direction, you will absolve yourself of those particular issues when they come up down the track, which we know they will. So that's basically what I'm putting forth as an offer to those that are knowingly complicit. Well, those knowingly, I'm not sure. If they're knowingly complicit, I think they probably need to swing on a rope. But those unknowingly complicit, if you're watching this video, then you should have learned a lot. This gives you your opportunity to step out. So come and join us and work with us. So thanks, guys.
Don't remain complicit, guys. It's simple.
Yeah.
You just can't be complicit, and they can't make us be complicit. So
yeah,
remembering that, that's our right. That's a real right.
Withdraw your will.
Obligation.
Love your work, brother. Love you all. Thank you very much. And yeah, look, this went way over time, but again, thank you, everyone. It was a great meeting, and I really appreciate you all being here. So, and especially those that stuck with us till the end as well. We'll catch up, everyone, those that I need to catch up with, and I'll speak to you guys during the week. And have a great evening. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and see you later.
Take your vitamins, guys. There's a new variant coming.
Not the flu. This time it's influenza B. See you later, guys.
Bye.
Bye.